Alrighty, folks. Yo, and my camera's gone. God, I hate OBS. Jesus, I hate OBS. Alright, guys, I will be back on in a couple. Alright. Are we working? God. Are we live? Oh man, I'm so close. I'm almost at my wit's end with streaming. Seriously, guys. I don't mean to be a downer straight off the bat, but this is the most frustrating thing I've ever done in my life. Okay. All right. How's it going, everybody? Good to see you. Good to see you. Monday. Love a good Monday. It's I think it's the morning for most people right now, but for me it is late. It's like 6 p.m. I think. Yeah, we're coming up on 6 p.m. It's been a day full of work, and I realized I can't get this. I cannot make the stream work if I'm playing Star Citizen. Nothing I can do. Unfortunately, this little piece of shit. Guys, anybody who is considering a Zephyrus G series gaming laptop, I almost said don't buy it. Instead, actually buy it and make a sacrifice. Burn it, smash it, do anything you want, because God, this laptop's terrible. It's horrible. It's the worst thing I've ever purchased. And unfortunately, it has made it so that I cannot stream until we're able to move and I can build another computer for the other side of my stream. Because Star Citizen doesn't like single PC streams, at least not when I'm doing it. So today instead, we're gonna have a little review session here. People have asked me to do things like respond to comments and look at videos and react to stuff. I figured, why don't we go ahead and hop into YouTube and see what kind of content people are making around Star Citizen, because there's a lot of people jumping in now. There's a lot of changes going on in the content that's being made. And I think it's actually pretty interesting to see. Hope you're all doing well, though. Good to see you. Thank you all for getting in here so early. Some of you were in here super early, ready on the spot to go, and I'm so sorry that I've been having to delay the stream recently with all these changes that have been going on. I promise next week I'm really hoping that I can just have a setup that's good to go for the next 5 months. It'll be the nicest stream we've had. We've actually got a huge rebranding in the works with new overlays, graphics, a new theme to the stream, kind of a niche that we're going to settle into and start to make regular content for and post it to YouTube. So more news on that coming soon, but that's kind of a sneak peek into what's going on and what will be coming up, because I promise this is not how bad the stream is always going to be. Dr. Lupo was streaming right now. Yeah, so I've been seeing. Buffering like crazy. Okay, so Twitch is still not gonna work. So it's not just Star Citizen. There is something wrong with streaming to Twitch from this internet. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because Turkey likes to block everything because they're a bunch of authoritarian holes, but it might also be because my PC is just not strong enough. I don't know. I'm not playing any games. I don't know why Twitch would be lagging like this and YouTube is not. I don't believe I'm having any dropped frames, 0% dropped frames. Bitrate looks good at 5,000, so I don't know what's wrong with Twitch. Really sorry for everybody who's watching on there. I'll probably end that stream pretty soon, because that's just how it is. Any wrong OBS settings? Nah, all the same OBS settings as normal. What's up, Star Trump? Good to see you. Good to see you. How's everybody doing? Sorry, I'm still trying to get my wits about me, so I'll say weird things like that over and over again. See, I'm subscribed to Undead Parrot Gaming. Am I subscribed? I literally just found that channel today, I think. Yeah, that's probably why you saw it over there. Yeah, that's why I literally just subscribed to that. So much bad buffering. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to end the Twitch stream. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what to do. I honestly... It fucking sucks. This seriously fucking sucks. I mean, I don't know how else to express myself. I'm just... This is the most stressful thing ever. Yeah, I'm sorry, Twitch. I'll send you guys on for a raid. I think we're just gonna have to stick to YouTube today. Say hi to Super Mac Brother for me. Makes great content. We'll probably watch one of his videos today. And yeah, I'm sorry it's like this, guys. I can't do anything right now. My hands are tied. All right. Yeah, I don't like to swear much on stream. This is incredibly frustrating. What would you guys like to watch first, though? If we're gonna watch some Star Citizen YouTube, I had a couple things in mind that I was gonna check out. Generally, some of the videos that people who don't play the game regularly have been making. There have a lot of people been jumping in and introducing new communities to the game. I see Dr. Lupo streaming. How about we, am I gonna get, ooh, actually, I might get demonetized. I forgot that. That's probably got to be the worst part about doing this on YouTube, is I might get demonetized pretty quickly if I click on the wrong video here. Banu Merchant Man protest by Dig That. All right, let's check that out. He won't demonetize me. We get along. I've had him on the podcast a couple times. Let's stop the music and see what you just want to hate on how bad the Kenobi TV show is. Unfortunately, I can't jump in with you on that. I haven't even watched it yet. Let's see what Dig That's been doing, though, and we'll move from here. Oh, it's only 43 seconds. All right, what is this?
What the fuck happened to this dude?
Oh, him?
Yes, the one looking like the Exorcist DJ. Yes, him.
Oh, he just watched the brand new Merchant Man video.
Oh, yeah, that joint's dope. But that would explain why his head looking like a police siren on a cake mixer.
He didn't like it.
I ain't, but bad taste ain't twist that man up like a skinny Cinnabon.
But then he went to Reddit.
Oh.
And then he got kicked off for Reddit and went to Spectrum.
Oh, Snappy, straighten it back up. The Merchant Man sucks. It looks nothing like that one picture from 10 years ago. Hey, get back here and get this 30-day ban. I'll just make another account.
Is this what's been going on recently? I've been on a plane and like I didn't actually get to see too much. That was probably really quiet, huh? I just realized because I'm on the one PC stream, I can't change the audio like I normally do. Sorry about that. Was that can we talk about the Merchant Man stuff real quick? And I'm gonna so all right, I don't have another monitor, so I need to use my laptop to read chat. Let's see. Ah, resubbed over on Twitch, and I had to ditch on that. We go over the progress tracker and check out what sprints are ending soon. That's something we could check out. Yeah, some progress. Progressing in the progress. Let's have you react to Salty Mike reacting to Grumpy Eye. All right, yeah, I'll check out Salty Eye's new look at Grumpy Eye's video. Grumpy Eye is fun. Grumpy Eye's got fun takes. I endure the not endure. I marinate in the frustration. You know, a lot of people think that I'm just always positive and I'm just never negative or critical. Those are people who generally don't come to the stream, but also I think people who just don't realize that like I don't put all of my feelings into my videos. Grumpy Eye encapsulates that for me a lot of the time. So does Salty. I love having Salty on the podcast though. I'm gonna have them both on at one point. We'll just have like a little stew fest of salt. Taryn, thanks for the bits over on Twitch. I don't even understand why things are happening on Twitch, but I really appreciate it. I think it looks cool. People that bought concepts are getting over very well. I mean, don't buy concepts. Like, don't buy concepts. That should be the first thing that's told to every single newcomer that comes into the game. Do not buy concept ships. This will happen every time. The ships change. Stop buying them pictures. I mean, I get, you know, the Merchant Man's old, so that's not exactly fair. That's a different situation, but But the merchantman is it's meant to be a specific type of ship. And if they're going to change it to be in line with that type, you know, as the Banu merchantman's or the Banu design language is changing, then what the is my camera gone? Wait. When did my camera Oh my god. How long has my camera been gone? Can anybody confirm? I can't even believe. I can't believe how difficult streaming is. it never gets easier. That sucks. I guess it's gonna be a no camera stream today, guys. This is a fucking train wreck. I can't even believe this. Let's watch this video and see what this is a long video. We won't watch a whole hour, but let's get a idea of this.
And I think this is the last video that we're going to watch today. This is from Grumpy Eye.
Can you guys hear
Star
that?
Citizen hard questions about capital ships. Grumpy's rehab facility number 45. So, Grumpy's
all right, reacting to Salty Mike, reacting to.
Hello and welcome. Today we're going to talk about some
This is weird.
questions. And I've asked some, and I had some replies, and also I didn't have some replies. And with the replies that I got, I wasn't really happy with. So let me roll the intro and let's talk about it.
Hello,
I'm assuming it means he didn't agree with.
my name is.
I'm assuming that Mike assumed that he meant things he didn't agree with.
So before we start, I need to roll you something, and this is gonna be from the last Q&A, the vehicle content team, when it was like last Friday, when they talked about it. And
Dude, that shirt looks so fresh. It looks completely brand new, right? Like,
God, that shirt looks good, right, guys? Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, Mike.
the first time
This
he's
is
ever
just
worn that shirt. You know how you wear a shirt and it only
this is
looks good
confusing.
once?
it was like featuring
Hey, I see my thumbnail over there. That's my video. That's from the second channel. I wonder which video that is. I think that's a podcast episode, maybe. I don't know. That's fun.
John Crew and Richard
Click on it, Grump.
Towler, and yeah, they responded to one of my questions, one of which wasn't deleted because every time I post a question for the Q&A, it gets deleted because it doesn't meet the guidelines, because the guidelines are they don't want to answer when questions. Basically, that's the main
When
guideline.
questions
What's
suck.
the timeline we're looking at for the one question we're looking at for the interior remodeling in Gold Pass on this amazing space whale?
When questions are terrible.
Not gonna answer a when question.
So in the Q&A, I have asked what's happening with the Polaris, and I also asked what's happening with the Odyssey. And yeah, the Odyssey question just didn't go through, I guess. The Polaris answer was enough.
Right?
Because I guess they replied to it solely because the Polaris got announced 5-6 years ago. Maybe
They gotta
even
say
more. I
something
think it was
about
in 2016. So
Hey, YouTube's telling me you guys are experiencing buffering. Let me know if the stream is not smooth, and I will punch it in the face.
count. With the Odyssey, on the other hand, we saw a white box, so they were working on it, but you never know with them. So I just wanted to see.
Bro, they just white box things so they can use them and show them for how big the interior is and stuff. And then they just stop. This is how it always is with the big ships.
What's happening with my ship? And yes,
Yeah,
I am an owner
he's
of-
got a good point. This is so weird. I feel like this feels like the who was it that did the comedian singer-songwriter? He did the video, the documentary. I think it was on Netflix, or not documentary, the not stand-up, but the skit. I don't know what to call it. He did the thing on Netflix, and he had the little skit in it where he was reacting to himself reacting to something. Yeah, Bo Burnham. That's what I feel like an idiot right now, but this is actually kind of fun. He has a point though. They do the white box super early, and then they'll just drop a ship. Like the Orion, the giant mining ship, was white boxed out like 5 years ago, and they haven't even mentioned it since then.
The Polaris and the Odyssey, JPEGs basically. I don't even fucking have a JPEG. I just have it on in my hangar, and that's it. It was a cheap buy for me, and I wouldn't advise you to
NFT that he can
buy
resell.
big ships
How
ever.
embarrassing.
You'll see why, but it was a cheap buy for me solely because I have a bunch of like referral things that I'm getting from people that are like buying the game through my referral code, so I can just like upgrade from that to a better ship or a bigger ship.
I didn't know you can upgrade from referral rewards. Oh shit!
For a more
I never
expensive
knew.
ship, so it wasn't that bad. And yeah, they answered, and let's see what the
Okay.
answer is about the Polaris.
Why do some ships get prioritized over others? There are some ships we've been waiting for, like the currently being built Banner Merchantman since 2013.
This is
Oh my
another
God,
thing to
this answer.
write a book on. There is no one answer that applies to every ship. It is a combination of the resources we have at the time. If you take, if I could click my fingers now, put the Polaris into production, that would take out a big chunk of the UK team for maybe 12, 18 months, which means we can't deliver
so
a
bad.
constant flow of other vehicles in patches. So you could go multiple patches without any vehicle release or any support for other features coming out.
So this is not an actual response to my question.
Ah, okay.
It was like a response to the question and then another question which you heard just now. But since the question is like that and since the response is so long, I figured I should just like cut it up in a few pieces and try to, well, respond to that response. So what he said right now is that they need to take 12 to 18 months to make a ship. Capital ship.
Yeah,
A big
man.
Ship. Doesn't
Hey,
matter. It
Hey,
just needs to
you can't see me on the camera right now, but I'm pointing at the camera. I made a video about this last year, and we went over how long it takes for them to make a ship. The Starlifter was like, I think it was like 14 months or something like that. So a Polaris will definitely take that long. Yeah, these bigger ships take a long freaking time to make, and clearly they don't have enough people make. I mean, yeah, the top criticism you'll hear is that people need to stop working on ships. Clearly they don't have enough people to work on these ships because they still take forever to make. And you know, maybe they won't make any progress any faster by throwing more people at it. That's not always the answer, but I don't know. It sounds like they require additional pylons or Vespine gas or whatever the resource is they're using.
be big, right?
Like, bro, I get it's big, right? And I get it's challenging, and I get how much detail goes into it. But if you look at the overall, like, timeline of the game, that's bad. Like, it's not good. That's too long. And it makes it, and again, I said this on my second channel, I believe, when we watched that episode. I think this is why they're not doing as many, but then they sold the Odyssey, and you guys reminded me, I thought that they weren't doing that many capital ships, but they still do sell really
Yeah, the
large
capital ships I'm surprised they still bring out.
So we currently have, and I have this in
Like
my
new
notepad.
ones.
We currently
They
have,
really need to start
in
focusing
production-
more on like
in production, and you just
they got to start focusing more on like your kind of 15 to 60 meter ships. Like that's what everybody's going to be flying. I don't know why they would still do capital ships that much.
Idris M, the Idris P, the Javelin, the Orion, Endeavor, Nautilus, Crucible, Kraken, Kraken Privateer, Genesis Starliner, and the Pioneer. That is 16 ships, or 14 if you take out the Kraken Privateer and
What is that, 20
the
years?
Idris P, which are just variants, but they're not because they're like different. But what, like, I'm gonna keep it at like 16. No, I'm gonna be generous and I'm gonna keep it at 14. Let it be 14. So 12 months per
times
ship,
14.
14 ships. How many months is that? like, do you see the issue here?
It's 144
if
months,
that's
guys.
the issue, if that's the actual issue,
Oh, no.
what he
Plus
just said,
24.
why
Jesus
do they
Christ.
announce
It's 148
them
months. Or it's
every couple
168
of
months.
years? Why do they announce big fucking ships every couple of
That was
years,
if it
or
was 12
basically every
ships.
year, like around IAE?
Because it makes money, Grump. You know that. Come on.
Why do you do that to yourselves? Why do you do that to us? Now, let me go through the list again. The Perseus, $675. Polaris, $750. Odyssey, $700. Liberator, $575.
This is I'm gonna honestly I'm gonna skip this. I mean, I agree with him, but I see where he's going. It's the money. That's why they do it, and they should stop. They're at a point where they don't need to do that anymore. I understand it when it was earlier, and they needed to make that money. They had to get enough. Like, I want to make a video about this. This is such a interesting, and I don't know if it's unique to Star Citizen because I don't know that many games, but it feels unique. It's like a phenomenon. They had to do some freaking shady, you know? They were selling big ships. Those ships had no sort of gameplay whatsoever to look forward to, only ideas. They had to sell ideas. They've been doing that. A lot of us know who have been around for years, like a lot of the excitement, the hype, and the passion that's gone into this game has been because of the idea of what it's going to bring. A lot of that is still true. But now, in the last year or so, the game's gotten to this point where it's good enough that people are getting sold on what's in the game. So they don't need to keep doing these sorts of things anymore. Just keep doing free flies, keep pumping out the normal ships, finish the big ships that you've made. It's just, yeah. They gotta start to change with the times and where they're at. And pumping out big ships to make money I don't think it's something they should be doing really anymore.
But
that's just me. Who am I?
And a lot of people have those ships. A lot of people are waiting for those ships. You announced them fucking 6 years ago. Some of these were announced, like the Javelin and the Idris. They were announced like in 2012.
I don't agree with the idea that it's in their best interest to take longer with this game. I think that's insane when you look at things like Diablo making like 20 million bucks in 2 weeks because of microtransactions. The amount of, like, it's being proven time and time again too in the last 6 months. They've never had as many people joining this game as they do now, right? Why is that? It's not because they're taking longer. It's because the game is better. It's because it's getting noticed. It's because big people are playing it because the game is better. If they released this game and got it to a point where it was polished and good enough to be considered quote unquote released, this game would explode. And it would definitely be in CIG's best interest to do that. Imagine how many people would be buying starter packages and Cutlass Blacks if there were 20 million eyes on this game instead of the 2 million that there are right now. I don't think that they benefit from taking longer to make the game. I think they would make more money with the finished game.
I've said this story on this channel like 10 fucking times now, at least. Statistically, there should be a guy that pledged in 2012 for a Javelin, and he died and he didn't get the Javelin. And I had that perspective before I started the channel, and when I started the channel, it's one of the first things that I said. And then actually I've met a guy whose father has passed, and he pledged for a Javelin back in 2012. And
yeah, $500 million over 10 years would be disappointing as shit if they had a real game to play, you know? Like, they would have, I can't say they would have gone out of business. I don't think a AAA game company would have kept the game going, a game like this, if it only made 10 million or 500 million in 10 years. It's kind of not great considering the scale they're at.
he didn't get the Javelin.
Okay, but like people die, and I don't know like how to, like, I get the point he's trying to make, but I also don't get it. You know, there's no, like, did he die of old age? Right? We just had a fucking pandemic that killed a bunch of people, you know? So it's like, we still have a pandemic that killed a bunch of people. Sorry, I live in Florida. It doesn't exist here. But the thing from, I get the point, but yeah, people die. I don't think that point is like the most valid issue here.
Yeah. No, I think they're doing both. You know, they're putting out like ships that we need, and they're putting out ships we don't need that make a lot of money. I just don't. I think the hype for this game has legs of its own at this point. I don't think they need to put out big ships to build hype. Of course, it'll bring in a couple extra million here and there, but I think overall it's gonna help the game more than hurt it to kind of like wean off of that a little bit, you know. Diablo Immortal is very playable. That's exactly my point. If the game is playable, it will make more money. That's at least what I think. But again, I'm no doctor.
Like, we are 10 years in development, 11 if you count the pre-Kickstarter phase. What's up, guys? Like, what's happening? I know that you don't like when questions, but dudes, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot of ships, and you keep on adding those ships. Like, you keep on adding ships.
Yeah, like if they didn't make the Odyssey, this would be less of an issue, I
Yeah,
think.
the Odyssey was a
To be perfectly
weird.
honest, if they did not make the Odyssey, would this be as much of an issue, or would they be doing the right thing and not making more and finishing that lineup? So that's the issue here, I think, is that you can continue to make, like, I am okay with them continuing to sell smaller ships, new ones, concept sales,
Yeah.
all that, right?
Regular ships.
What I'm not okay with,
So on top.
oops, sorry, Rainbow, thank you for the raid, by the way. What I'm not okay with is that they keep selling the really big ones that push everything back. And I think the only thing that we're ignoring here and not paying attention to is the fact that the reason we probably don't have the interest.
I feel like because of the way I'm doing this stream and my camera's not working, it looks like I'm Salty Mike in the corner talking. It's just very, very confusing. It's me, everyone. Hold on. Wait a second. I know what I can do here. Wait for it. We do have the power. Don't look at my files, weirdos. Stop it. Stop it. I can feel your eyes. I need a character. I need something. We'll just use this guy. Come here. Get on the stream. Dang it. Get on the stream. Oh my gosh. Okay, hold on. We have to do this the old-fashioned way. Go through here and then go through here. Gosh. Gotta love OBS, guys. It's like some of the best software I've ever used. It actually drives me insane. Wait a second, can I not? What the hell? Oh my god. Can I put my socks on there? No. So I can't even put a logo on there. Cool. This is dope. I love OBS. Yeah, good times. All right, whatever. I guess I'm just Salty Mike today.
The reason we probably don't have the Javelin and a number of other ships is twofold. Two things. They don't want to show you the inside until Squadron 42 because, you know, fuck me, I don't know. And then the other aspect is there's some tech that I've seen on the roadmap a couple times where they want to be able to cull the inside of a ship when you're looking at the outside, and when you're inside a ship, they want to cull the outside. So like performance improvements.
Top of those, without finishing these and giving us like other small fighters. What's up with that? But let's see like the continuation of the answer and what they had to say on this topic.
We have to balance that across not just delivering vehicles but supporting the other teams. The last few years we've been trying to not push vehicles out without their gameplay.
All right, so the first few things.
All right,
that
cool.
He said
That's
was
me.
Actually, okay. Like you don't want to get the ships out if they don't have a gameplay loop, or if they're just not gonna work.
True.
But is it truthful? Let's see. So he said like in the past few years, and I'm gonna just talk about the last year, 2021, the ships that got released the last year. So MSR, Data Runner,
Hey man, that ship's cool.
400i Explorer.
Yeah, okay. And see, now that one is, you know what? This is a point. Let me oh, I'm not gonna be able to pull that up. I don't know where it is. There is a video. I have video proof on the YouTube channel of Star Citizen where they actually say this was only at the beginning of 2021, but one of them, I think it was Kirk Domay, said on video that they don't want to release ships with their features missing anymore. For the most part, that's been true, but the 400i is the one that kind of like, I was like, wait a second, that's missing the features. The MSR came out before that, but gotta watch out for that one.
And what is it, like a luxury transport vehicle for like tax emissions and all of that. I mean, okay. Cutlass Steel. Dropship for what purpose?
Also, Driz, thank you so much for becoming a sponsor on the channel. I appreciate the support. Make sure to check out those exclusive YouTube videos you get access to when you become a supporter here. Got another one coming out next week.
I don't think that one counts.
Nobody's gonna use it on Jumptown. It should be used for like raiding bases and all that, but we don't have that in the.
It would be used if it would absolutely be used for Jumptown. It would be used for other things if they made the ship correctly, and I don't think they did. It doesn't have enough health. It doesn't have enough armor. It doesn't have enough shields. Whatever, right?
Listic. I'll have a reaction.
The topic of dropship.
I'll have a reaction to the BMM episode up pretty soon, probably tomorrow.
We have the M2. Still, dropship. What purpose?
It can drop ships. Those work. Grumpy, I gotta disagree with you
don't know.
on these.
We have the A2 with the bombs, the huge fucking bombs.
It drops bombs.
And what are you gonna bomb? The only thing that you're gonna bomb is, of course, Jumptown. And $750 for that. I'm not sure that like it's really useful.
Absurd price.
They didn't like give us a thing.
Yeah, he's like kind of not making his point with the first few ships. The first ship was perfect. The rest of them is, yeah, like the purpose and value is subjective, so he shouldn't be using this.
A thing to bomb, but we have bombs, and I'm gonna give it to them. At least the gun doors on the Cuddy Steel and the A2 bombs work. But what's up with the MSR and the 400i? We got a Cyclone ground vehicles. Why? For what? For what purpose? On what planet? On where?
They literally do rallies.
No answer to that. Like I can ask those questions, but no answer.
So
like for bunker missions, you can just hide the ship behind a rock. You can just hide the ship behind the pillars so the turret can't shoot you.
No. Don't tell people that. Don't tell people we shouldn't have vehicles because there are workarounds to get around those vehicles. That's not what most people are going to do when they get into the game. They're going to ask people, how do I avoid these turrets? We shouldn't be telling players like, yeah, I mean, it makes sense to get around glitches, but we probably shouldn't tell players like, oh, don't worry about that. There's this exploit where you can hide behind the building. I think the bunkers are broken, but I don't think that the ways we get around those breaks are enough to discredit the vehicles in the game. I mean, the ground vehicles seem like a pretty solid thing to have, especially with some of the focus on ground, like the planetary nav mesh, the new outposts coming out. They're redoing some of the caves. They're building in, new derelicts. The derelict settlements. Like, there's a lot of ground stuff going on. I feel like the ground vehicles still make sense. Oh, that's a doorbell.
I don't get it. And then we got the Tonk, and then we have the Spartan. That's like one of the last vehicles that got released. And of course, we have the Mule that came out without its game loop, and it's not even fucking working. I got it. I still didn't test it out, but
you can't
as far as I heard,
it
cannot pick up any boxes.
Yeah.
So was that truthful? No, it was not truthful. Let's go a bit into the past. So they have released a few big ships in the past, and those ships still don't have game loops, and that's of course the 890 jump, which is $950.
What do you mean the game loop is it's literally dunking on the pores, man. The game loop is there. It's flexing on the pores.
It got released
peasants.
in 2019. The
game
price
loop is
before
the
release
ship,
was
yeah.
like $890, because that's funny. And then we have the Reclaimer, released in 2018, $400 currently. No game loop. 890 jump doesn't have a game loop.
Hey, come on now. The Reclaimer is finally getting something working. Jesus.
All that, and luxury, whatever.
Okay,
touring.
fair. No taxi missions, and that's really
No game loop,
probably
basically.
where it would shine.
600i, 2018. I mean, it has 3 size 5 guns, and it's valuable just because of that. But exploration, touring, and all that, it just doesn't make sense because it doesn't work because we don't have that game loop. And the Carrack apparently got released in 2020. I'm not sure because I started playing like late 2020, beginning of 2021, and I did follow the development of the game, but I wouldn't know.
He could have brought up things, and he may still. I mean, we're not even halfway through the video yet, where things like the Argo. The new cargo ship with 96 SCU. I know the details of it. I just can't think of the name.
Saying you think the issue is he's trying to justify his want of his big ship being put in, but the ships he is mentioning have more than just their sole niche. His big Perseus wouldn't add anything. I see. I don't even. Are you saying that because that kind of comes up further on in this video, or is that something he said earlier? Because I might have missed that. There's so many basic game loop things any competent solo game developer could plug into SC in a matter of a couple months. It's really embarrassing how much is lacking in core gameplay. Oh, dude, do you have insight into the engine development? That's pretty nuts, man. Not to be mocking, but like, you can't just say, "Oh yeah, they could probably do this pretty easily." To be honest, we have no idea. They could, but like, you know. You could say that about anybody who is struggling with anything that they're doing. Oh yeah, they could just totally take care of this and there'd be no problem. But like, clearly there's either hiring is an issue or the roadblocks that they have in front of them are just freaking phenomenally bad. There's something going on that stops that kind of stuff from happening. At least, you know, you didn't say any specifics, but like, for instance, adding salvage seems like it would have been simple, but the entity graph, persistent tech, the damage map system, like a lot of stuff that's small that they probably could have worked around before to get the gameplay into the game. They wanted to wait until things supported it better. And there are a couple devs in this chat right now. There's at least one dev in the chat right now. It's not like they don't know that we have the problems we have. It's not like they don't hear that people want the game to develop in a certain way, but a lot of them are working on just other things. Brings it up a little bit later. Oh, okay, you watched it already. I gotcha.
Name, Raft. The Raft, right? Where it doesn't have its ability to pick up and put down the stuff, right? You could have mentioned that. You could definitely mention the salvage ship that doesn't really do that much salvaging. It just does hull stripping. Exploration ships are a good example. I think the Carrack that he's going into, if you go into the rooms, there's a lot of features of those rooms that don't work.
You have insight. They take elements from the current game and script basic loops. They have the assets and elements already to do very basic things. I see. Well, I mean, if you know, then I guess that's that then.
Right. So there's ships that were sold recently that do not have their game loop, but they do it less.
For the record, bedsheet physics weren't even worked on for Star Citizen.
I don't know. I don't think so.
When the
At least I never saw that in the Star Citizen monthly report.
$600 and none of its game loops work. So 2020, is if it's
Talking about
if it
basic
really got
stuff.
released
I
in
see.
2020, so that's 2 years ago. So what he said, couple of years, the last couple of years,
beginning of 2020.
2022 and -2 is 2020. So therefore, like, it's not truthful. Like you can say whatever, but it's not truthful. It doesn't even need to hit the game loops. Maybe he didn't mean game loops. Maybe he meant like tech for that's gonna work. And then we have the Carrack. Let's stick with the Carrack. It has drones. The drones don't work.
Yeah,
it
that's
has
what
a
I was
repair
referring to.
station. Doesn't work. It has a cartography deck. Doesn't work because the exploration is not a game loop because it doesn't work. It has a medical bay, but they're gonna take out. It's not gonna be a tier 1 anymore, so it's not gonna spawn people anymore. It's just gonna be.
They should work on new gameplay instead of ship reworks. The most important thing to the most important gameplay loops, I think, in the game, things like salvaging, require every ship to be reworked. They have to put the components in the right place.
Yay.
I also think not just salvaging, but disabling ships. I think you just misspoke. No, this is not the first time they've said this, right? Same for the cargo refactor? I don't think so. I think cargo refactor is just physicalizing cargo, but that already, sizes and metrics are already a thing. I think that mentality is just not right, and the idea of they should stop doing this and do that, it's not really how it works. Sometimes they're dependent on each other. And reworking ships is absolutely dependent on bringing Star Citizen forward to where it needs to be. Yeah, and that's going to happen many times, okay? So there's currently the ship gold standard stuff that's happening now, which is taking way longer than it should on a lot of ships, it feels like. I feel like every patch we should be getting multiple ships that are done, but they probably have half the team working on the Banu Merchantman. Remember when he said he would have half his studio work? If we did a large ship, I'd have half my team taken away for the next 12 to 18 months. Well, guess what? Guess what's happening? There's a lot of ships coming out. Hull C, Hull A, you got the Vulture or whatever, the salvage one. I always mix up the names between the Vulcan and Vulture. You have a lot of things that are coming, and I don't know when the next rework is. I remember the Cutlass was supposed to be there. They have to put the components in the right place. Otherwise, we're not going to be disabling ships. That has to be a thing that happens.
See, this is another one of those things that, like, the ship reworks. Another thing. It's like, he makes a great point. Mike's making a good point that we have gold reworks that, like, we need to get done, especially starter ships. We have to get starter ships to work better, and it's one of those things that's gotta be they've got their hands tied. They need more people. That's the problem here, is there's too much to do. The game is freaking huge. They obviously can't just start adding people to the team nonstop, because they don't, despite what you hear people say, they don't make enough money to do that. They have to balance out so that they're not going to run themselves dry too quickly. And it just seems like they don't have enough people to keep taking care of all these important things all the time. So they've thrown people behind the important things that they know they have to get, like Gen 12 and server meshing and damage maps and PES and stuff like that. And then they've thrown everybody else at Squadron 42, and they've got like this ghost squad that's just sort of running almost in like maintenance mode on Star Citizen to keep some features coming out and keep the development going. But for the most part, it feels like it's just kind of sucked dry a little bit in terms of some of this development. Yeah, it's rough. They have to rework every ship. That means they did something wrong from the beginning. It kind of is a sign of just how experimental this whole thing is. Like, they could have made all of the ships with the ideas of the like pipe system and the components and stuff, but that's probably where it went wrong, is the fact that they changed their scope back in 2014 and kind of took everything to another level. There is a YouTube membership gifting now. Yeah. Instead of instead of Twitch sub gifting, you can now gift memberships on YouTube, which I think makes a lot more sense because that gives people access to more YouTube videos. But it's not as like common yet.
That is the next logical step where Star Citizen needs to go, is to get to that point. So that is very, very important. And having the mentality of they should not rework ships because they should be working on gameplay makes no sense, because they're literally together.
Yeah, I think that I don't think they have that money lying around. I think they're actively working this money to make sure the company runs as healthily as possible. And they are hiring. They have a ton of open positions. It's just that they don't get enough people in fast enough. And when they do, those people have to be onboarded and all that stuff. There's slowdowns all the time because of that. And there are a lot of unannounced ships on the progress tracker, but they're not always all being worked on. You know, like they have things on the progress tracker that say they have work for the next 6 months, but that might mean that they have one dev hopping in, you know, on every Tuesday of the week for that 6 months to take care of that work, instead of putting a bunch of different segments of work segmented throughout the 6 month period in the progress tracker. They just put one long one to show that, yeah, there's stuff going on this. So like that shows us that stuff's being worked on, or that stuff is a focus, but we don't really know literally what's happening, which is kind of annoying. It broke. The camera doesn't work. I don't know why. You started SC in 2022, so you're new to a lot of info, but do you think the new studio they are building will increase productivity? Like the new buildings that they're moving into, I think it'll help. You know, getting everybody in one place is nice, and I guess that's good for morale that you get a new spot, but we'll have to see. I don't know if it's going to make that much of a difference. Tomato was saying to people that, oh, they raised this much, guess what that gets spent on? It doesn't just sit there and profit. Right, yeah. People think they're just like packaging up boxes full of money and walking out the office. I'm sure somebody takes too big a salary. You know, that's always the thing, but they put it back into the game a lot of time.
It has like,
But
do I
I'm
need to
never
continue? It
buying
has
capital
fucking
ships because
modularity,
of this.
but that's not in the game still. Like all of those pods where you can store cargo, you can exchange those pods and just use it for like something else, for a refinery, whatever. It doesn't have that. That doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And like, was this truthful? Fuck no. Like 2 years, if it actually got like released in 2020, that was 2 years. And you have a bunch of other ships that got released last year that I was here to see and witness, that they released ships without a game loop for them and without like all the tech working on them. And like, I'm not even talking about like escape pods. We have no idea how they're gonna work. We have no idea when they're gonna work, but we have them. And yay, at some point we're gonna escape from the ships. Like, let's... Like, see, like, my main thing here is we need to see, like, progress. If you're gonna announce a bunch of shit, a bunch of ships, you better fucking deliver on them, right? And, like, am I being negative now? Am I being a bastard now? Am I being hyperbolic for asking those questions, like, for saying that? Because that's fucking...
No, not for saying it. The delivery is what people end up getting frustrated with him. Also, I think he definitely went too deep on things that were irrelevant, and people will go into that.
We paid for it. We want it. You promised us something 10 years ago, 6 years ago, 5 years ago, a year ago. It doesn't fucking matter. You promised us. We're not asking when exactly, but are you fucking working on it? No, you're not even fucking working on the Polaris. So we need to see progress. But
yeah, I think being upset that like this is how things work is absolutely a problem, right? But his delivery will rub people the wrong way. Who he's talking to there, guys, trust me, I know, is the people in his comments, the people who talk shit to him all the time, and he has to deal with it, right? And it's not because of what he's saying, it's because of how he's saying it.
Let's see what else they have to say in their defense.
So things like the Crucible, we could make the Crucible now, but we don't really want it floating around without the repair gameplay to go alongside. So whilst I can control the
Nikolaj, I like the sentence there. We were shit as slow during COVID. I get you though. I see what you mean.
production of the vehicle, I have to rely and work with other directors to get their side delivered at the alongside it. And the problems that affect me of, hey, we've changed our
Turtle,
minds for IE,
the escape pods aren't just for combat. The escape pods are going to be for basically any situation in which you want to get out of your ship. That could be you vented the ship, or it got vented, it has damage to it that you're not going to be able to repair, or stuff like that. Although it is a good question about shooting escape pods. I don't imagine that would be very easy, because the targeting systems in this game depend on emissions, and I'm assuming escape pods won't really have that many, but that's something that they'll probably talk about at some point, someday, somewhere, somehow.
Dead also affects them for other things.
Like, this sounds like he was like ranting a little bit about something that happened internally that made his job more difficult.
It's like the feature they're working on now might be delayed for another team, which delays the feature I need for this vehicle. So,
because this is what happens. This director is the ship director, but he needs these other directors to do things that he needs. And there's all this pulling, and it's like a tug of war situation. And
we chop and change a lot.
All right, so this could be understandable if the things that I said prior to this weren't a thing, because this is just
sounds
not
like bad
truthful.
management.
I mean, I understand. I completely fucking understand the point of view, and I support it, of course. But then again, why would you announce all of those ships if you knew that they just wouldn't work? Why would you sell those? Why would you sell a Crucible? Because he's talking about the Crucible, when you know.
Bro, because they got to make money.
Yeah, come on, Grump. You know the answer. This is like
matter.
This is like this is the way. This is what Star Citizen is known for, selling ships to make money. I'm guessing he's asking why, as in like, why didn't you just not? But then they just wouldn't. The game wouldn't be made. We would have just stopped in 2015, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I get what he's saying, but it's super obvious. Oh, I'm like, why isn't this unpausing? But Salty is paused.
It's not gonna be in for
they don't care.
At least a couple of years now.
Right. It's why the game has such a negative perception, and I get that. I do. I don't think that anybody should not. I don't think nobody should be getting attacked for complaining about things like this. I think they probably should try and like figure out their argument a little bit more concisely, especially some of those YouTube comments and Reddit conversations. But at the same time, like a lot of the people who complain about this stuff either A, don't have anything to do with the project, don't play it, don't research it, don't watch it, or B, they well, I guess just more of group A. They either don't pay attention to the game, or they don't look into the stuff that is actually going, the fact that people are playing, the fact that features do come out or that updates come out. Even if that stuff isn't exactly what we want, people act like the only thing that's happening in this game is that ships are being sold for, or pictures are being sold. I totally get that argument, but a lot of times when that argument comes up, it seems to ignore everything else that's going on. That's kind of that. I think that's where a lot of the vitriol and intense responses to this kind of criticism comes from, because this is valid criticism. It's just oftentimes wrapped up in a kind of rough wrapping paper, we'll say.
It's as simple as
Okay,
that.
maybe
care.
they're gonna rush the production
Because they
and
can't.
just get it out. Okay, nice. But what about the Polaris and the Perseus?
I think we put so much value in what ship and what we want to do. So like, this is like the really difficult thing with Star Citizen, right? This is like a really, really difficult thing with Star Citizen, is because you want your ship. You want to make it about you, right? You want your story to be told the way you have it in your head. And therefore, you want your Polaris, you want your Orion, you want your XYZ, just name it, right? One of these large ships. But in reality, and this can go for any ship, you don't need it. And it's not, some of these ships are not necessary for Star Citizen to exist and to be fun and to be good. And I think as members of the community, we put way too much onus in specific ships.
Wait, just to be clear, I'm not talking about Grumpy when I was saying that stuff. I'm talking more about the general arguments that pop up around this game. Grumpy's fine. I mean, obviously he gets angry. He's Grumpy Eye. But like, if you go and try and have a conversation about this game on Reddit, you'll almost never get anywhere, which is a bummer. The public perception matters. That's the natural reaction to seeing how bad the game is and makes money. Then that's bad. It's true. Public perception does matter, but like, they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. They have to make money on a game that doesn't exist yet. They have to find a way to do that. And that meant selling ships. And they could definitely avoid selling ships and find another way to make money. But could you imagine how much time they have to take to find new revenue streams, which would take time away from development, which would probably make their revenue unstable, so they'd have to let people go. Like, they're just in a tough place at this point. I would say ever since like 2019, they've been able to do nothing but hopefully sprint towards an actual functional game, because they got to fund it and they don't have any other way anymore. I don't know. It's a very unique and weird situation. Keep hearing the line that the game is already funded and doesn't need any more money. That's not true. No, that is definitely not true. They actually release their financials for this game every year. You can see at the end of the year, they put them out publicly and talk a little bit about it. You can see how much they made, how much they spent, and it's usually pretty close. Like, this is a business. A lot of people think of this as a game development company, but it runs like a business. Behind the scenes, they have a lot of stuff going on in the company that we don't ever see. Anybody who has run a company or been high up in a company, you know how much internal stuff is always going on. It's probably more stuff than goes on between the community and the company. So I think that's perspective that people sometimes forget about when it comes to this game.
Or ships in general, when what is special about the game is not the specific ship, it's what the ships do. And the fact that most of them have an internal place that you can walk around, and you can go from 0G, it's what Star Citizen can do. It's not what that individual ship will give you in a lot of cases. Now, for some ships, mining ships and exploration and certain things, yeah, sure, I think they need their gameplay to function. But I mean, Grumpy plays Star Citizen, I play Star Citizen now, and there's plenty of ships that don't have the intended gameplay, but people find a way to enjoy them and have fun. I hate that they sell spaceships. Spaceships were an amazing opportunity at progression in Star Citizen. They fucked that up a long time ago. And if the project's going to continue, it's very clear that this is the path to make the money for them. This is what they want to do. And they have, over the past few years, have been lowering the relevance of the ship you fly, right? And upping the relevance on things like reputation, death, things like that.
But those aren't new. Those are things that they've
That's
planned.
the direction the game is going, so they can continue to sell ships, not just before launch, but I believe, and this is just my opinion, post-launch. It's just what it is, right?
I don't know. I don't know about that. I feel like they're still being super particular about what ship you want. You know, like, do you want the hull A, the Freelancer, or the Raft? Because they all have got different kinds of thing. They do the same thing, but they do them in different ways, right? Do you want the Herald or the Mercury Star Runner? Do you want a Corsair or I don't even know what would be a Corsair, or I don't know, the Constellation Andromeda, maybe? Like, I get what he's saying. They definitely messed up in terms of ship progression being a thing that people focus on, but I don't know if he's saying that they changed the focus of progression recently or what, because I feel like they've been talking about Death of a Spaceman and Reputation and things like that for quite a while, but I might be reading that wrong. Meech, thank you so much for becoming a channel member here on YouTube. For anybody who is interested, channel members get exclusive YouTube videos every month, and they're not bad. I'm about to release another one publicly, actually, so you guys can get a little bit of a preview. But if you did see my tipping point video from earlier this year, that's kind of a decent idea of what they are. You get access to all of those as long as you are a channel member, as well as special Discord channels and some other good stuff.
Dude, thank you, Cutlet. And everybody who's subbing, this scene, for some reason, does not work. So I can hear you, but I don't think the chat can, and the alert's not coming on the screen. I know why. I have to fix it.
So the Polaris and the Perseus,
I completely redid my
both
OBS, so I'm
have,
finding
like,
all the little errors.
what do
that
they
I made.
have? They have a let's.
That's what I
talk
need
about
to
the
do.
Polaris, because they have it. Has torps. We have torps. They are size 10 torps apparently, which is like a one size bigger than the Retaliator's torps. So it's just making new model, making new damage model, and all of that.
Holy shit! This is
Okay, that's gonna take some time.
He's literally proving my point. This is the exact reason not to make the Polaris. This is the exact reason why it is not prioritized. Is because you already get the gameplay that it does for the most part in the current experience.
Salty Mike's got good things to say. I don't think it's worth cutting somebody out just because of I mean, he'll come off a little bit differently than how you want to take the content, but he has great insight into the game. Every time I've talked to him, I've had great talks. Sometimes I don't agree with what he says, but like I can always very easily look past it, or at least see where he's coming from, and I get his side of things. I think Salty is a good content creator. I think much like myself, he's in a place where he's still trying to figure out the content going forward and what fits best. But I like his takes sometimes, most of the time.
Yes.
It has a hangar. Which other ship has a? Oh yeah, the Carrack and the A90 Jump. So we have hangars in our game.
But this does not justify the fact that they have sold a $750 ship and do not communicate well how long it will be until you get that ship. That's terrible. He has every right to be upset, but I'm kind of just talking about we're also the problem here. It's not just them.
Already, but
they're a big part.
Are we gonna
not
be
just
able to
them.
spawn ships in those hangars? We don't know. Are we gonna be able to like repair ships in those hangars? Apparently so, but still, it's such a minor thing compared to the Carrack that doesn't have a single fucking game loop working for it. Why didn't you release the Polaris? On the other hand, we have the Perseus that doesn't have a hangar. It has missiles, like size 5 torpedoes or something like that, and it has like 2 turrets with size 7 guns.
I agree.
We have turrets, we have size 7 guns, so where's the Perseus? And there's more ships that were that are just concept ships.
Honestly, I think that ship is one of the also the reason that you don't see it is that tech, that ship interior culling tech that I've seen on
Starstreams. I'm with you. Honestly, I think this opinion surprises people sometimes, but I almost don't even care about the spaceships. I love them. I love what they make. God, they're so beautiful. Like, these are the most amazing spaces I've ever been in a video game, and I love what they're doing with the spaceships, but I could care less. I want gameplay. I want game loops. I want atmosphere. I want story. I want dialogue. I want a reputation. I want to freaking live in space. Flying spaceships is like 30% of this game for me, and all of the meta and talk surrounding those spaceships is good. It's healthy. I think it's in a good spot, but it's not really for me. When it comes to ships, like, I like them, but it's not the make or break in this game, in my opinion.
The Nautilus is basically a big ship. It has mines.
Wait, are we getting buffering on the YouTube stream? Let me know if it's not going too well, guys, and I'll see if I can make a change there. Apologies if it's a little unstable.
It's mines, but we have bombs now. And why is that so different to mines? Why didn't they work on the mines, the bombs, and the missiles at the same time? Or at least on the mines and the bombs? Or
Well, what did they work on? Right?
or the different sizes of
That's
the bombs, because we can actually buy a size 3 bombs. If you didn't know, now you know. We can buy size 3 bombs as well, the size 6 repeaters, but we don't have any ships that can carry size 3 bombs or size 6 repeaters. So we have them in the game, but we don't. So what's up with that? That's another hard question. We don't know. And that's basically why I said that this is not really truthful.
No, they
I
worked on
know
mining
that, like, he's
gadgets.
doing his best.
Yeah.
Like,
Thank you,
don't attack me. Don't think that I'm attacking him, especially. No, I'm not. He's just the guy that answered to questions, and he is the guy that is basically representing CAG. It's CAG's fault as a company that they're doing really bad for us. They're doing fucking amazing for them. They're making a lot of money. They have sold like a ton of mist, basically, and that's a translation from Serbian. If you're Serbian, you're gonna understand it. Like bottled mist, basically, mist in a jar. But once you open the jar, and there's no fucking jar either. Like, the jar is just like being on your hanger here, and I clicked on the orgs. Being on your hanger here and just like looking at your Polaris, your
Yo, did somebody say he was about to have a premiere? Why don't we watch that real quick? I do like this video, but I want to see. Let's see what he's doing. Where's this premiere you speak of? 9 a.m. What time is it? It's in 6 minutes. Okay, we'll come back to that in 6 minutes.
Like bottled mist, basically, mist in a jar. But once you open the jar, and there's no fucking jar either. Like, the jar is just like being on your hanger here, and I clicked on the orgs. Being on your hanger here and just like looking at your Polaris, your whatever ship, it doesn't matter. So like, see? But let's hear what else
Is
they
that a
have to
basement?
say.
Yeah, it looks like a basement, dude. That's one thing I miss about living in the Northeast of America and living in Florida now, is no basements. Not having a basement sucks.
And then
Weird Floridians.
also,
We don't have basements
if
in
you
Cali.
have,
Well,
artists
kinda.
especially, hey, you're working on this big ship for 18 months. You don't want to put them on another big ship for 18 months afterwards. You want to break that and give them, hey, here's a nice little snub ship to do. So that's why you might see like a random ground vehicle come out from nowhere, because
Okay.
they are much quicker relatively to do, and gives
If he has a response to this that isn't like, okay, that's fair, like we don't work at the company. Like, they know how people feel. This is definitely probably from feedback from the US, or from the artists. So
gives those people a nice like palette refresh of what they're doing.
So basically what he just said is that after they're done with a ship, and I was generous and I said that there is 14 ships, And was also generous when I said it's gonna take him 12 months, which is a year, so that's 14 years of human life just to release the ships that were announced. And then he said that they need to take some time off, basically by doing smaller ships. So that's gonna be like 6 months or 3 months or whatever. Let it be 6 months. So 14 times 6. Or times half, because it's half a year, so that's gonna be 7 years. So on top of 14 years you have 7, so in 21 years maybe we're gonna have all the ships from the list. And I'm gonna remind you again, if you just joined, because like I'm premiering this and this is gonna be also here as a video, but yeah, Perseus,
Man,
Polaris,
this
Odyssey,
just
Liberator,
this here's my problem with this, and I don't mean to call him out, because I do agree a bit with what he's saying, but like he's making so many assumptions here that you start to hear other people making these assumptions in casual conversation. And like Grumpy is somebody who's paid enough attention to probably know that like obviously they're not going to spend this much time on each ship for the continuation of the development of this game, right? At some point they're going to speed up, they're going to do a little bit better, they're going to figure things out, procedural, whatever it might be. Like, it's not going to be a static rate. And then at the same time, this is also 21 years of man hours, not 21 years straight. So obviously 21 years is a long time, but taking those two things into account, it'll be drastically different from 21 years for these ships. And I feel like Grumpy probably understands that, but the people who listen to the video might not. They might not take that nuance into account and start just saying this to people, and that it distracts from the argument. 21 years is not the argument that should be made here. It's not the fact that it's going to take so long. It's the fact that they even introduced the ships in the first place, but we get caught up on these details of like, well, they got this much hours to work on this stuff and it's going to take this long, and it's like, well, let's get back to step one and talk about that.
Idris M, Idris P, Javelin, Orion, Endeavor, Nautilus, Crucible, Kraken, Kraken Privateer, Genesis, Starliner, Pioneer. Those are the announced ships. It's 16 of them, but since 2 of them like have just variants of them,
didn't even
I was generous and I said 14. So that's 14 years plus 7 years of just like chilling, and that's 21 years. So in 21 years, maybe we're gonna have our Krakens and our Javelins. And then, of course, on top of that, they're gonna add
Yeah, you might just be having a little fun with it.
Ships, like capital size ships and all of that, because like, yeah, you're gonna want them in 21 years when they finish with these ones, or maybe they're gonna like bounce them around. And then the Orion, I didn't put the Orion. Oh, I did. And then like the Orion is, which is like one of the first, or the Javelin is gonna be postponed because yeah, we're doing the Emerald or the Venture, the whatever. They're gonna make a name, and it's gonna be fucking amazing. It's always gonna be amazing. And every ship, like each ship that they're gonna release, that's gonna go into a concept phase, is gonna be better than the last one. Because
that's true.
Yeah, like you will want to have it either by CCUing or by buying it outright. Because like.
Bro,
Most of them are just gonna be limited sales only, and you probably began to realize why you shouldn't buy big ships in this game, and why you should always ask the hard questions and never give them an opportunity.
Yeah, it's Chris. You're I can't stream the game. It's being very frustrating. So you're watching me react to somebody reacting right now. Starlet, I hear you. Just the fact that the timeline for these ships wasn't put out, but that's a different point. I don't even feel like he's made that point yet. I guess his point is that they're not talking about these ships, but like, if they put out a realistic timeline, if they put out a timeline for 14 ships, nobody would believe it. Nobody would take that without a massive dump truck full of salt, because like CIG doesn't know. They won't know. Like we said before, they're just in a crappy position where they're stuck solving the problems they created years ago. I don't know what the best situation to that is, but I don't think it would be stopping ship sales. I think there need to be changes to ship sales though, yeah.
To tell you no, you can't. Because yes, you can, because
that's
you're
why it's
fucking
such a long
paying for
video.
Yeah,
that.
Bo Burnham did
You're a
something like
customer,
this.
and you are basically over. Well, I'm not gonna be a fucking Karen now, but there's a lot of
Actually, I
things that,
think his premiere should be going. Hold on, let's jump into that real quick. Forgot we were gonna do that. It's probably already started. Whoopsie. All right, what did you? That is loud. What did you make here? A ship review.
Hello and welcome. It is time for another 5 a.m. concept ship review. Today
5
we're going to
a.m.
be talking about the Misk Endeavor.
I need to get that
We're gonna
kind
be
of
talking
energy.
about what it is, about its modules.
My creative
etc.
juices flow exclusively from like 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. Grumpy, hey man,
So stay tuned
you came to
and let me
watch.
roll the intro.
Hello, my name is
What's up, dude? I saw you having a premiere, so we wanted to jump in and check it out. But it's a tomato in the corner. It's not me.
The Endeavor is currently the biggest civilian research concept ship in the game. Emphasis on concept, because you need to know that this ship will not get released anytime soon. One of the reasons is because the Endeavor offers so many different gameplay possibilities, and those mechanics are nowhere close to being released.
By the way, everybody, because I don't want to take away views from this video. Grumpy is in the chat right now. Go hit his name up and go to the premiere and open it in another tab. You can have that open, get him that stuff. I'll have my own commentary, but like that's something that I always don't like about doing reactions is like, am I taking away from the content? But yeah, give him a subscribe, give him a smash that like button, give him a ring that bell icon, things. All right.
The game, but on paper it is simply amazing. So let's take a look at the specs of this ship. The Endeavor has 4 medium computers, 1 medium radar, 4 large coolers, a large power plant, and an additional capital power plant. On top of that, it has 2 large shield generators, 2 large fuel intakes, 2 large fuel
ship is
tanks,
so OP.
1 capital jump module, 1 capital
ship is
quantum
insane.
drive, and a capital fuel tank. Weapons wise, it only has a single turret with 2 size 5 guns on it, but I'm sure that will change in the future, because it shouldn't be this defenseless, even though it's not supposed to be a ship you take out when you want to fight. It does not have any pilot controlled weapons or utility items, and I'm pretty sure that it will never have pilot controlled weapons.
See you around,
but I'm
Grump.
also certain that they will add some additional utility items, such as a tractor beam or a fuel scoop. Now this ship is fully modular, and later in the video I will go over the modules one by one. But even with the base model, the front portion of the ship itself is a module that you can detach from the rest of the ship.
From the Matrix of Life. But even just the modularity of this ship is just like crazy.
The cockpit is a control module or the cockpit module. In the end, the base model can carry up to 500 SUs of cargo. Now, if you're new to Star Citizen, you're probably wondering what even is this ship.
I didn't even know we
and
had all
what
these
is the
pictures.
main use for it? Well, I'm glad you asked. The main use for this ship is going to be deep space research and science gameplay. And now you're probably wondering, what kind of research? Science? How's that even going to work? What is that? Well, that I do not know, because not even CAG knows. Because, yeah, they're nowhere close to developing this thing. So, yeah, I can talk about what the modules do. So let's talk about the modules. First off, let me go through all of them one by one, because there's a lot of them. The first one is the large hangar. It will be placed underneath the ship, and it attaches directly to other lab pods. It is intended to support hospital operations, but you can use it for other stuff.
Can
as
you
well.
even imagine this? Like, we can barely get landing in ships right now has only just become possible. Can you imagine how long it's going to take to be able to land in a hangar that is a module that's attached to a ship? Oh boy.
The
Oh
landing
boy,
bay has
probably
room
actually
for
won't
two
be that bad.
Cutlass-sized ships, and it features complete decontamination facilities. The hangar can also be used alongside standard science modules, and it can support the upkeep of a small spacecraft. And in the end, you can only use a single hangar module for the MISC Endeavor. The current price of this module
this is an endgame ship.
$75. The second module will be the medical bay. It is basically designed to be a hospital on a spaceship. It has operating theaters, recovery rooms, and a ton of medical facilities and recovery beds. There are currently just a few spacecrafts that have Tier 1 beds, which you will be able to use as a respawn point. Most of the other ships, except the Endeavour and the Apollo, of course, will have Tier 2 beds in which you will not be able to respawn, unless we brigade CAG with demands to give the Tier 2 beds a respawn option, but I digress. But the price of the medical module is also $75, and you can only use one per ship. The third module will be the fuel module, and it is, just as the name suggests, a large fuel tank. It is used to extend the range of the Endeavour. It can also
should be
store
able to do, I think,
cargo, but
5
we have
modules
no
at a
idea
time.
how many SUs it will be able to store.
Can it exit
The
worse?
price of this module is
You need a module for that.
$35, and I'm pretty sure you can equip more than one. The fourth module is the research module. This module is intended to be a multi-
Alice, there should be a free fly for this game coming up in September? Either September or October. I think they usually do a few days of a free fly event. I'll definitely have an announcement on my community channel. We'll put something out on the Discord to let everybody know it's coming up. But if you do really want to get in the game and you've done your research, excuse me, and you know what you're doing, you understand it all, $45 is really where you should start. Just a $45 game package. Go from there and see how it treats you.
facility that can support a variety of active scientific pursuits such as biological studies, microscopy, zero-gravity experiments, etc. It houses internal slots for precision scanners, sample and specimen collections.
I was thinking the free fly
spectrometers,
event
and
during
chemical
the ship showdown.
analyzers. It is capable of cataloging new experimental data as well as producing cutting-edge compounds. Whatever the fuck that means, because we currently only have 3 game loops: trading, mining, and bounty hunting. And yeah, you can count in like carrying the boxes and all that, but like I found this on the internet, and that's like the specifications of the ship and of the modules. So yeah, I'm just gonna go along with it and say that
I love
that's
how
gonna
Grumpy
happen.
literally
Sure,
uses his
that's gonna
computer
happen
screen as his
soon.
B-roll.
Trademarked by CAG. Anyway, you can buy
Genius.
this module for $45, and we don't know how many of them you can install. Could be just 1, could be 2. I think it's gonna be just 1. But let's talk about the 5th module, and that's gonna be the Biodome module. It is priced at $100, and you can have 2 sets or 4 biodomes per ship. This module is
Star
designed
Streams,
to
you always put
support
Reddit after every
ongoing
Google search, right?
agricultural operations, adapting and growing
This ship will grow a lot,
foodstuffs.
Shaka.
So for all
I
of
think
you
it-
that are
I think it'll grow a
wondering,
lot.
that means that you will be a space farmer. So farming simulator, but in space.
And that right there, my friends, is literally the coolest thing that's going to come to this game, and probably one of the last things. Imagine for a second, just imagine. Like, there's this really good video, I don't know who makes it, one of those guys who makes those amazing gameplay videos where he ran a drug cartel in DayZ. Imagine doing that in Star Citizen. Running a drug cartel from a convoy of Endeavors, shipping out the drugs to different pirate bases, nomading around in a flotilla. Like, oh my god. Once that's possible, I will 100% be a pirate, because that's gonna be so cool. And what I'm doing right here actually is showing y'all something interesting. They've already actually shown off some of the work that they've started doing. Oh no, is that not in this folder? I thought I had it in this folder. They've shown off a little bit of the preview work that they've been doing on the farming gameplay. So while I said it's one of the last things they'll get in the game, surprisingly enough, they've actually kind of started to touch on it. I'm not seeing it here. I thought I had it saved in this folder, but it might actually be in art, maybe? Let's see. No, I'm not seeing it. I don't know where I had it saved. Unfortunately, we can't find it, but farming will be a thing.
A ship. Soon, pretty soon, at some point in the future, after server meshing. Like, this is getting pointless, but there's more. There's more modules, and I gotta go through all of them. And yeah, just don't buy this ship. Anyway, let's talk about the other modules. The sixth module is, of course,
it's true. Don't buy
the
this ship.
science module. These are designed for analytic data gathering, and they house a variety of scientific computers and data banks. Their main use is for processing the raw information gathered by the general research pods or the telescope array. They are $45 and you can carry one of them. There's more. The seventh module is the mentioned telescope array. It is an extremely powerful mobile stellar observatory which can be useful for everything from standard navigation studies to jump point discoveries. So basically it's made for exploration, just like the Carrack, but the Carrack still doesn't have the game loop for it.
You know, you gotta I'm sorry, that was unflattering. You gotta, like, really take a second of self-reflection and hindsight, of course, just looking back at the way that they announced these concept ships and wonder to yourself, was it really a good idea to do that before you knew if it was doable? Because this ship, when you hear it described, it sounds crazy. I don't know, a combination of ridiculous and unbelievable. Done believable. I don't know. It's just nuts. It sounds like enough to be its own game. And I'm like, how y'all gonna do it? How you gonna do it?
In this game still, so yeah, it's like $125 and you can carry just one, and yeah, don't buy it. But wait, there's more. The 8th module is going to be the servers, equipment, and crew enclosure module.
Ridiculous, I like that.
It adds additional crew facilities to the Endeavor, allowing the workshop module to function as a standalone installation for longer missions or for the overall ship to support additional crew in general. The price of this module is $25. But wait, there's more. There's the 9th and the most exotic module that you can get for this ship. The last module will be the Particle Collider. It is an elaborate overclocking facility, and it includes a pair of white room, workbench, labs ideal for tweaking and overclocking ship components, such as weapons or thrusters, pushing them to their limits and raising the bar on component performance as high as possible. It is basically a smaller version of the large particle accelerator.
Thanks for the heads up on the link. I'll change that.
Have in Geneva, Switzerland. Yeah, that's gonna be a thing. And the price of this module is $125. So that's all the modules. So let's talk about the perfect uses for this ship, which is gonna be out soon, pretty soon, right? Right, CG? So first off, we gotta talk about the packages. You can buy the base Endeavor without any modules, but you can also buy the Discovery class package, which contains service and crew, general research module, and the general science module. And it is currently priced at $425 USD. You can also buy the Hope class package, which includes the medical bay and the landing bay, and it is basically gonna be a space hospital, and it is currently priced at $450. You can also buy the Olympic class package, which includes 2 biodome modules, and it is currently priced at $500. And then in the end, you can buy the master set, which includes all the modules, and it is priced at $900. But you shouldn't really buy any of them. If you want to buy the Endeavor, and if you really want to buy the Endeavor, just buy the base model and you can buy the modules in the game. Once the Endeavor and all the modules get released, you can just buy those in the game, so don't spend your money. And in the end, you can say that this is the most versatile concept ship out there. And you will be right, but you need to understand that this is still a concept ship, and we do not know when it's gonna be released. The only thing we know is that it's not gonna be released anytime soon. If you want to daydream, this ship will be able to do everything.
Love
You will
some
be able to
daydreaming.
use it as your main base, or basically
That's
as your
like
own
my
space
secondary
station,
game loop in this
because
game.
it will be able to do basically everything. And I'm pretty sure that CAG will add even more modules to it. For example, a refinery module or a
Yo, you
repair
tried to
zone.
raid me, Grump? Yeah, we got to do a whole, like, I have to approve you and you have to approve me. YouTube's got some weird stuff going on with their raids. This is a solid video though, dude. I don't think this is going to make people mad. Like, this ship is freaking, what was it? What did we come up with? Something? Undiculous. This ship's undiculous, dude. Like, this could be another game. This thing's going to be a while.
Bay or whatever, but just with these modules you can offer other players medical services.
Do I think
or
people
even
will slowly
upgrade their ships to-
lose interest in buying concept ships and wait for an actual reveal? I think people are always losing interest in buying concept ships, but some people are always gaining interest. So over time, concept ship sales are definitely going to decrease because more people are going to be getting into this game for the game itself rather than the ships that they're talking about. Like right now, more people jump into this game and don't get concept ships than, 2 or 3 years ago. And that trend will probably continue. I don't know if percentage wise it will, but definitely numbers wise.
To the highest standards, and since the cockpit module is detachable,
Hey,
you will
Toggles.
be able to leave all of the other modules tucked in somewhere in the vastness of space, so you can go and land on planets or moons or
Yeah, they restricted it for hate
asteroids,
raids.
to gather intel or do some exploration, so when you come back you can process that information and the samples you have gathered and do some crafting with that processed information. There is a lot of things that you can do with this ship, and of course you can make a space drug lab and sell drugs to space children. So in the end, should you buy this ship? It's a no, and oh my god, it's fucking 8 a.m. So yeah, it's a no. It's a definite no. Here's why: you can buy it in the game. First off. Secondly, it's nowhere close to be done. They're not even fucking working on it. Thirdly, most of the game loops that are supposed to be like on the ship, they're just not. They're not there, and we have no idea when those game loops are gonna come online.
Yeah.
And in the end, if you still wanna buy it, and if you want to support CAG making another game while you're buying ships for Star Citizen, go for it. If you have disposable income, fucking go for it. So yeah, that is it for today, guys. And
That's
if you have
exactly-
disposable
that's exactly
you
the
can come
case.
and
Like,
support me on my channel, like these
buy
guys,
games,
my Patreon.
buy games if you want to support the game. Don't spend money on this game if you don't want to support the game. If you just want to play, just get a $45 package and enjoy the game. That's what it's here for. But yeah, my I don't know what happened. My camera, Cyberwolf, it just stopped working right when the stream started. I had the problem like twice today. The first time I had to shut the whole stream down. This time I could not get it back up. I don't know what's going on with it, but I couldn't get my camera going today, unfortunately. All right. That was a good video. Thank you, Grumpy, for that one. That was good fun, and honestly, you make a good point. These ships are a ways out, and they're expensive. People shouldn't be buying them. So, back to the main page. Let's see what other kind of content is popping up for Star Citizen. I want to find something from outside of the community. Yeah, let's get a fresh take. How much trouble will I get in for watching Dr. Lupo's stream? That's like, I don't want to get demonetized, but this could be a lot of fun to get some commentary on. I bet he's I've heard he's actually enjoying the game a bit. But the demonetization scares the crap out of me. You guys remember earlier this year when there were a bunch of videos being made about this from people outside of the community? To be frank, it's been going out for a while. Oh, no, that's a different camera. The one that you're thinking of is my webcam, which was just messed up. This is my DSLR. It's going through a cam link, and this seemed like an OBS problem because it comes through on Discord, but not OBS. Meow's videos? Are those, is that somebody else who's new? Had a video about the ship design. Let's see, if you search for Star Citizen, you'll actually usually get those kind of out there videos more. If I can just type correctly. Let's see. Jack Frags. Jack Frags has been doing a lot, but we are looking for a particular kind of video. Star Citizen is a terrible game, not worth playing in 2022. How about this one? That sounds fun.
Argue with me in the chat. Have fun. But yeah, this is Star Citizen. So first thing,
Don't demonetize me,
It's like
Swole.
a free week. That's why I'm playing. I
Please.
pay for this. I'm never gonna pay for this. I'm never gonna play this, even if it goes free to play. You start off on a bed. Push W wakes you up. Hold F, left click to open doors. It's really jank. Like, why do I have to push 2 buttons to open a damn door? That's so stupid.
You don't.
All right, run to the end
You
of
just
the
have to
hallway where you
tap
spawn.
F.
And by the way, just random NPC. This is not a player. This is not a player. This is an NPC. And yeah, he's just standing on a bench. I don't know why. Also, I have a medical gown on. I don't know why I have that on.
You died.
Equip this, and at least my inventory works. Most of the time, the inventory just like has a loading screen. Yes, a loading screen. And oh yeah, that
is very annoying.
Game is very, very busted, broken. Look at the artifacting down there. I have a top of the line PC, and this game, let me tell you, I've been playing this game for at least a day now, like straight. And when you first open this game, it loads like ass. You're gonna stutter like every few steps. You won't even be able to move properly. But because I have it all preloaded, it looks very smooth. I have a top of the line gaming rig, and you probably don't. And it's gonna run like ass. This game is
my gaming rig is
optimized and super bad.
all
The
over
game
the
looks
top
nice.
line.
The game does look pretty. All right, but the game is just extremely tedious on how to play it. Okay,
Heck yeah, it is, dude.
The first thing I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna summon a ship that we get because we're free to play, and normally you'd have to pay like $40 for the ship, and then we're gonna go fly around in space for a bit,
All right.
and maybe do something
You don't
else.
have to-
I don't know, but
you don't have to say you have to pay $40 for the ship. It's $40 for the
So I'm
game.
gonna take the metro. Yes, that's right. The very first thing this game wants you to do, which they think you would find fun, is take public transportation to get to where you need to go. And the game doesn't tell you shit. Like, the game doesn't tell you absolutely anything of what you should be doing, how to do anything. The game doesn't have a little menu that opens up and says, hey, you want to, like, here's how to move, here's how to interact with the world. Nope, none of that. You get nothing. If you want to learn how to play this game, you've got to watch hours and hours of YouTubers. And or like I've been
right
a gamer
now
for my entire life. Since I was 3 years old, I've been able to play video games.
Ooh.
And I've been able to intuitively figure out the video.
Ooh, actually, yeah, let's watch that white light video. I haven't gotten to watch that yet, and I hear it's pretty good. This one, that sounded like it was going to be a fun video. But this sounds like it'll actually be entertaining. Let's check this out. Holy crap, this is long. 46 minutes? Oh boy. Yeah, it sounded like he was not expecting a sim kind of game, and probably not a game in alpha. It's, yeah, I mean, people jump in and aren't really prepared for that. But that's how it be. Let's see what this is
video
about,
was
though.
made possible by Squarespace, the best website creation tool in the entire universe.
Yeah, new players do have a hard time. That's definitely
Humans
true.
are driven by stories. We daydream a third of our lives. We spend another fraction with fiction. Our cultures are founded on myths.
Look at the
But
B-roll.
why did we become this way? Well, according to theory, it's
This is
because
already
stories
great.
teach us what mistakes not to make. An imagined reality is like a computer simulation where fake people called characters fail, so we don't do the same. Stories feel empty without a point because they exist to be learned from. But sometimes a story can be more than a lesson, because sometimes an imagined reality can be preferable to our own, and we tell stories not just to learn from, but to live in. Fantasies. Dreams, where we can visit the stars in our eyes, where we can escape our oppressed, frenzied lives into worlds of wonder, adventure, and purpose. And as the years have gone by, technology
Because I want to
has
be
found
able to
greater
still
means
watch
to
other
provide
stuff
it.
with you guys.
color, motion picture, interactive simulation. It was 1977 when Star Wars used the structure of ancient myth, aesthetics of new imagination, and the awesome potency of the cinema screen to reinvigorate one of the most powerful dreams the world had ever known. The one inspired by the 19th and 20th century founders of science fiction to let our imagination run free amongst what we had just learned was a whole universe of different suns and alien Earths. Up there, anything was possible. Anything you could wish for. And only a few years after Star Wars, technology had found a new way to
is
prove
this
it.
a Star
What if you
Wars
really
video?
could be in the pilot seat of an X-wing?
I haven't seen
Creators
any
wanted to know just as bad
no
as
Star
consumers,
Citizen
but the
yet.
wilder a dream grows,
I want a
the harsher
refund.
it's reckoning with reality, and some were going to find that out the hard way. Imagine this, a fully dynamic universe running in real time. In 1990, as this designer put it, you could fire up the game, put your ship under AI crew control, and not do a thing. The game will literally play itself, complete with trading, combat, alliance changes, and exploration. You could fight in space, in air, and on the ground. Even a self-learning neural net was promised. This would make industry rival Chris Roberts' Wing Commander look like a prehistoric
No, I
mammoth.
get what he's
This game
talking
was
about. I'm
Battle
just
Cruiser
having
3000
fun.
AD. His name was Derek Smart, and marketers liked his ambition. But when Smart realized just how far
Fun
his dream
fact, your
exceeded his
org,
ability,
your org saved me from a griefer back in 313. You got attacked and we showed up with a hammerhead and you bounced when you saw all the pew pews and missiles. Ah, thank you guys. I don't even remember that, but thank you. Yeah, this is It's an
But it
essay
became clear
video.
that even 8 years of development hadn't been enough. His publisher was all out of patience. In 1996, Battlecruiser would launch whether it was ready or not. Unlike Chris Roberts, Smart didn't have the goodwill of 4 successful wing commanders to cushion his fall, nor a publisher kind enough not to ruin him. He became the first high-profile victim of many to burn up in pursuit of this dream. In 2016, No Man's Sky became one of the most anticipated games in history. It was never meant to be. It was an indie project, made by a humble studio of 20 in Guildford, but the excitement their fantasy created outgrew their ability in months.
Yeah,
Sony
Sony
capitalized
exploded
on the
that
hype,
game.
But Sean Murray and his team could not deliver. No Man's Sky released unfinished, broken, and humiliated. Once, the same dream even fueled the hype for Destiny. Way back when, people thought the ships would be more than a loading screen widget, that its interconnectedness would take the form of a real universe, not just the suggestion of one. This has always been a particularly powerful dream, but as Smart has shown, the history of the ambitious space sim has also been impacted by some particularly big dreamers. Ever since his first viewing of Star Wars in 1977, Chris Roberts has found it difficult to restrain his passion. It inspired 1990's Wing Commander, a now legendary title that stunned the industry with its wild and fidelity. But it was with his next game, Strike Commander, when Roberts' tendency to set his sights outstandingly high began to cause serious problems. In the game's manual, Roberts compared his plight to that of Francis Ford Coppola on the set of Apocalypse Now. In the spirit of wanting it all, we set out to design a game that would have more realism than the best flight simulator, better storytelling, more fun, and more accessibility than Wing Commander, and the best sound effects, music, and graphics of any game ever created. Our biggest mistake was thinking that we could achieve all this in a single year. Our biggest setback was the realization that it would take more than 2. Strike Commander took 4 years.
2 years!
Most of the work died with the reboots it took to arrive at a final product. But it did arrive. It reached the end of its long
The video's
arduous
on
journey to critical
1.25
acclaim.
speed.
And Roberts looked back on Strike Commander, humbler, to see a project that every member of the team could say, yes, it was 2 years of hell, but at the end we've created something special. Of course, it very nearly wasn't. The story of Strike Commander had a lesson, but when fantasy came back to put stars in Chris Roberts' eyes again, the lesson was forgotten. Freelancer, a universe of possibility, true freedom to forge a life amongst the stars. Its $1 million trailer made tantalizing promises of seamless multiplayer integration, a persistent wild state, an AI-driven economic ecosystem so powerful it could run the virtual galaxy with or without the player's input. The game would literally run its... Hey, I've seen this one before. Announced in 1999, promised for 2000. Freelancer released in 2003. After Microsoft acquired the developers, Roberts was forced out, and the ambition cut down. It was a decent game, so I hear, but the story wasn't over yet. The dream was still alive. Over the past 20 years, crowdfunding platforms have made it easier than ever for aspiring dreamers to get a financial foothold. No publisher, no limits but the ones you set for yourself.
All right.
And sometimes it
And
works,
in
but
the
sometimes it
interest of
doesn't.
not being
It's
demonetized,
2022.
I'm actually gonna
Star,
go.
the title of a
I'm gonna.
crowdfunding project now makes as
I
many
don't
eyes
know.
roll as it
Maybe I should just go
attracts,
through the
but
whole
most
thing.
eyes are on just one of them. Bounties, trading, mining, farming, building, fighting, sneaking, salvaging, boarding, racing, flying, policing, reporting, modifying, delivering, fueling, housing, healing, hacking, exploring, in the most immersive world ever created, in an MMO environment.
Wait, hold on.
witnessing, healing,
What was that?
hacking, exploring,
What does he
flying,
use for
policing,
healing?
Reporting, modifying, delivering, fueling, housing, healing, hacking.
He says healing, and he pulls up a rocket launcher. I love it. That's the proper type of healing. You can tell there's a little medical symbol right there.
Exploring in the most immersive world ever created in an MMO environment with a single-player campaign, with a celebrity cast, with the largest development budget in history, with 10 years of development, 10 years of controversy, and no end in sight. Star Citizen.
All right, we're here. Here we go. That was an intro.
Networks, they're really quite cool. If CIG knew that before they started, we wouldn't be here. But Squarespace have always understood. The belief that a website is merely an archaic resume is outdated. It can be a blog, it can be a member-exclusive chat room, or a newsletter, or a hub for all your social media, and it can be every one of those things with a handful of clicks on Squarespace. You don't need 10 years to reach an unpolished first draft. You need 5 minutes with Squarespace's design tools.
Wait a
as
second.
Functional as they are intuitive. You don't need $400 million. You don't even need a credit card, not until you're ready to publish. So prove it to yourself with no barriers. And when you're convinced, use code WhiteLight at checkout for 10%
Oh, that was the
off
other
your
video.
first
I was
purchase
like,
of
wasn't
the
there an
website
ad
or
at the
domain.
beginning?
Chris Roberts was back, certain now that where they failed, he will not. And where he failed, crowdfunding makes everything different. This time, Freelancer meets its potential, and that old dream finally comes true. Star Citizen, the implication of space, and the implication of a life yours to define. Star Citizen is just a simpler way of saying a universe of possibility, which itself is a simpler way of saying I want to escape into a world of meaning and wonder. It takes no more than a look at the game to realize what it's meant to be. The aesthetic of Star Citizen is an unapologetic reincarnation of the old but mighty pillars of sci-fi pop culture. Hotshot fighter pilots, megacorps, alien barbarians, the Empire, Sandworm,
did he just call
shields,
Garrus a
blasters, and
barbarian?
credits. It's nostalgic, not original. It's just the dream, with a simple promise. It will come true. But will it?
My
Hasn't
man.
history painted a clear lesson that it will
Don't do
release a shell
Garrus
of
like
itself
that.
or not at all? Doesn't this story have an obvious lesson? The stakes for Star Citizen are high. The main character is compelling, and humans are driven by stories. We would all like a decisive, dramatic, poetic end, with a theme, with a point. But Star Citizen has been furiously controversial for a decade, not because the answers are simple, but because we like them to be, and they are not. Popular narrative pins this history of overambition on Chris Roberts alone, but it's also true the space sim has lent itself to overambition since the 1990s. To the historian, $400 million is a sign the space sim cycle is spinning again.
Space is
But
hard.
to the faithful, that much money and that much time means any development hurdle can be overcome. The certainty doesn't exist to prove them wrong, and those were just the beginning. Truth is, Star Citizen is one of the most stubbornly uncertain topics I have ever looked into. Sometimes because there isn't enough information, sometimes because the information is highly complex, sometimes because moral grays are difficult. The result of either is the uncertainty that has kept this controversy alive for a decade. This video is my attempt at a crash course on the Star Citizen rabbit hole. We're going to focus on the problems of years and ignore the problems of the week. We'll remove
Wait, are we
uncertainty
still in
where
the
it can be
intro?
removed and explain it where it can't. There are some things I'll choose to leave out, some things I'll simplify.
This is like a
some things I won't
Netflix
know,
documentary
and mistakes I will make despite
where they
my
show you
efforts.
names
So if
for
you
like
have
5
anything to
minutes.
add, please don't hesitate to comment. Without further ado, let's punch the biggest question in the room. Why is Star Citizen still not out yet? Has the gravity of their cash stacks dilated time? Is feature creep to blame? And are backers responsible for repeatedly voting for feature creep? Those last
Hey.
two are common narratives, but
That's us.
reality is not so kind as to do us the mercy of a simple answer. The truth begins in 2012, when Star Citizen had a set vision and a $500,000 funding goal on Kickstarter. There would be a single-player campaign and a persistent MMO, Freelancer as it was meant to be. It's no surprise this dream would not be insulted by a mere $500,000. Pledges rocketed past every stretch goal, and with the support of community polls, more were added until 65 million. Features crept and backers approved. Hence the claim we voted for this. Well, here's where things start getting complicated. We didn't. Who's we? We, as in a democratic majority of backers. True, the polls ended with a majority, but that was a majority of the fraction of backers who voted. 99%? 80%? 50%? Try 10. And that 10 was no representative sample. Those who engaged were following the project the closest. They were most
Hey,
passionate.
come on now. That's like what happens with presidents and stuff. You gotta vote.
And so most likely to be in favor of dreams. But here's another question. Exactly what dreams were voted for? The majority of post-vote stretch goals were such things as ships, armor, upgrades to already confirmed mechanics, and a few new star systems amongst the 100 already promised. So less like core functionality, more like extras. And for those still concerned by the possibility of these extras dragging out development, CIG had assurances. In his celebration
Most
of the
retweeted
20
is talking
million
about the
milestone,
money.
Roberts himself explained that goals are carefully considered. We don't commit to adding features that would hold up the game's ability to go live in a fully functional state. And we must not overlook the pretense established the week before. In response to the question of Star Citizen's funding being complete at 21 million, Chris Roberts gave a clear answer. No. Because in his own words, the more funds we can raise in the pre-launch phase, the more we can invest in additional content, more ships, characters, etc. And perhaps more importantly, we can apply a greater number of resources to the various tasks to ensure we
All
deliver
right. So this one's gonna be a bit long. I'm gonna watch this one separately because I feel like it's gonna be easier to watch something that's maybe a bit more concise on the game. No, I'm not playing the game today. This computer is struggling a lot with playing the game while streaming. I'm still trying to figure out what we can do about that. So, doing my best with what we've got. Let's see. Let's get back to Star Citizen content. What is another good... Hold on a second. Sorry, guys. Let me search again. Let's see. What's another one that's out? Actually, the roadmap update could be good to look at. Let's look at the roadmap, in fact, because there's a topic for discussion. Let's talk about the things that we've been looking at in this video and how close they are to being finished. Oh yeah, meow. That's right. You mentioned that. Oh, let me search them real quick. Did I watch S is for Scorpius? No, I have not. S is for Scorpius. What type of video am I looking for? I'm just looking for more opinions on the game, to be honest. Just not, 40-minute opinions. This is for Scorpius is... I'm looking for, like editorials on the game, what people are thinking right now. And honestly, you know what? Let's just check this out. Screw the demonetization. What is he doing right now?
Go for that atmosphere. I'll shoot. Oh, yeah. There's no OM
Why is it so quiet?
marker. There's nothing up here. Trust me, I've been looking around.
Said to self-destruct and then just run out of it. You have a moment.
By meow? Okay, gotcha. I'll check that one.
All those are from other planets and shit. So I literally just have to, I have to fly it in like this. We'll get there, dude.
Into the building.
Has anybody been watching these streams of Dr. Lupo? What he's been doing?
So I'll be able to shoot around and come in from above.
Are you guys out?
You close this. Damn it.
In due time, don't worry.
Yeah, I'm out. Why does he need to blow it up?
That's
This game's broken.
that's something that people have said before, Misfit, that they time their information drops to get better sales, but oftentimes they'll announce delays before the sales, or I've seen them announce good news after the sales too. I think sometimes it coincides, but I'm not convinced that they actually time those things based on when sales are. I think sometimes developers have bad news at the same time that, or after marketing has already done their work.
What?
I'm gonna redeem Mickey.
Oh fuck.
I'm gonna go ahead and def, and I'll see you guys later.
Oh no.
Lupo Pool Shark have been really crushing the game over the last week or so. They've been having a good time.
God, man, this.
I don't know. I don't know. I've heard about this game that you can't have a good time in it.
Get the fuck out of here.
What's interesting though, I mean, Salty Mike made a good point about these people playing the game now. These bigger names, they're not gonna stick around. Like they'll play it, it'll be in their rotation, and they'll get out and they'll get back in. Sorry if you can't hear me. They'll get out of the game and then they'll get back into it. But overall, they'll just, they'll move on to other games. It's not permanent. It's not like they're making this a main game or anything like that. But it's interesting to see how many people find these people playing the game and then hear about the game. This, like, Star Citizen is such an unknown game still. It's weird. How's chat?
I don't see my bank account.
How is chat?
Okay, hold on.
Wait, are you actually, Jen?
Do you accept
Accept my invite?
Accept it, Paul? Paul,
What's that?
do you accept it?
I accept the term.
If you get $100, you'll stop.
Chat's actually good.
Oh, why are you going higher?
No, it's 50 from each of us. That's what we said.
Oh, I'm not giving him $50. Fuck that.
Not from you.
Keep going. Okay, sounds good.
Chat, if you have it in
Is
your
that-
heart, please.
Mickey Mouse?
Oh, so not from us. Okay, from chat. Okay.
I think I'll get in trouble for Mickey Mouse being
I
on
don't
there.
like any of this. I'm gonna be honest.
I like both of you.
Yeah, I can't chat. I'll wait until they're done. We'll go back in a minute. Let's see here. Here, chat. Let's do a prediction. Will
Try the
Daddy
video. I
win
tried to
this
play Star
dogfight?
Citizen. By V.
Negative.
What's his name?
You got a 5-minute window. Start prediction. There you go.
All right, let's watch this one. S is for Scorpius. Is this a song? Oh. This is, wait, am I gonna get in trouble for this? I am. This is great production quality. I am just wow. What is going on?
Welcome to Public Space Industry.
You know why I love shadow banning people? Because they don't even know that people can't see what they're saying. I thought it was gonna be a song, but I did not expect this. This is ridiculous.
What the dog doing?
There's so much going on in this video. Oh, that was pretty cool. Wait, that was very cool. I've never seen a joint quantum travel in that close formation. Oh. Yeah, this should probably be a trailer for the game. Well.
Oh, what the fuck? What? Jesus Christ. What the fuck?
I mean, I'm not dead.
You wrap yourself around that pole.
Nice. I can just smell them. It's making me hungry.
All right. That what was that song? What did you just have me watch? It's just meow.
So the event
Dope though. That was fun. I hope they do more trailers like that. All right, give me another one. What would it take for you to react to my Scorpius video? You could send it to me at some point. I'll check it out. I don't really do many reactions. I only basically do reactions to CIG's videos. No, Grumpy, it's the best thing. It is the best thing. Let's see. Synth World Prod. No, that's lore. I need a good video to look at. Let's see what Anarchy is saying.
Before we forget, I'm gonna go look for pickle.
You're below me. You're right below me. You're right below me.
Yeah, the Banu protest video was funny.
I see you.
Admin, Kamini and Sons.
Does it go here?
Does this place? So
Oh
this
shit!
place
There's like two guys on this
probably
elevator.
doesn't.
There's a bunch of guys here.
This
Hello?
place probably doesn't have a weapon thing, right?
Okay, this is just a stream. I thought it was or it's just a gameplay video. All right, let's see. This keeps popping up. Let me see what Montoya's saying about the roadmap roundup. Montoya's always got some fun. He finds just the most interesting stuff.
Never gets old, huh?
What did he
Sometimes
say
I
about
feel
them,
like I'm
Banu?
the one taking crazy pills. Is there something that I'm missing? But then I realize, no, it's not me. It's everyone else that has gone insane. So this is Ben Curtis.
I gotta get Montoya into the podcast
system designer, glorious
soon.
beard and shaven head. I like it
Soon
a lot.
TM.
Disco Lando calls them up and goes, "Hey guys, everyone really wants an update on the Banu Merchantman. This is one of the most highly anticipated ships in the game. People bought them years ago, and the ship has gone through a lot of changes over the years. Everyone is dying to see what it looks like right now. Can you guys come on and give us an update on it?" And these guys are like, "Yeah, absolutely. We've been working so hard. We've been working out for years on this now." And we're really, really excited to show you all what we've done with it. So they go and do an entire 20-minute video giving you an in-depth look into the interior and all these cool different rooms. And this is going to be a conference room, and this is kind of a shrine. And these are the
YouTubers like cereal
with the gel in them. Very cool stuff. We'll get that in a second. And I'm sure what happened was they finished the show here. They finished the interview and thought, great, we did a great job. We can't wait to go see what their reactions are tomorrow. And so they log on the internet, and what they find...
oh my god.
Cart Titan. Awesome, by the way. Yeah. And post...
This is how you get CIG to not... the devs to not want to show stuff anymore.
Change this, change that. The old concept was better. I don't like the way this looks. This doesn't look good to me. On and on, like, oh, the poor guys. Can you imagine that this is the reaction? But all the while, this model we have here, which is the model they showed us, this exact model right in front of you right now, is the exact same model we have had since 2018. So we know what the Banu Merchantman looks like for the past 4 years. I can understand that some people new to the game might not have seen this, but for the amount of people complaining, have you guys not seen this? Have you not seen this model, which
looks a little different
for 4 years already? So when they showed me the new model,
doesn't look as flat.
We'll get that one in a second. That's just a perspective change on it. It's been this way for years. So if you're upset now, you just haven't been paying attention, because this model has been the model they've been showing us for the longest time. I just put up against some other cargo ships just to get some reference in size and also cargo capacity. By the way, check this out. A very cool feature in Starship 42 Fleet View. That is how much cargo these ships carry. I mean,
that's ridiculous.
Obviously enormous. And the Banu Merchantman was
I'm surprised
very generous with its cargo, 2,880 SCUs. Still outdone greatly by the whole series of ships.
Yeah,
but
wow.
it is one of the few large cargo
even
ships
the whole, what is that, the B?
The planet, so it is very useful in
or is that the C at the bottom that carries more?
Cargo.
Yo, Driz, thank you for the super chat. It's on your channel. Grab a coffee on you and enjoy on your free time. Appreciate it, man. I'll probably do tea instead of coffee. Coffee messes me up.
I mean, I gotta address this. And while yes, it is funny, this issue right here with the original concept,
that looks like a warship.
This concept was drawn way before CIG had the smallest idea of where this was going. This concept was drawn, I don't even know who the original artist was, but the idea was to create this kind of very sturdy, very tough ship that can get through enemy territory, a blockade runner, which is exactly what it was. And the original design was actually that. That works, right. So now this is just my personal opinion, and feel free to disagree, but not the exterior, I don't mind the exterior. The interior that we see over here, the original concept interior, is what sold me. I actually like the size it was here. It's supposed to be a tough, sturdy blockade runner.
Much smaller.
This gigantic generational ship. And personal preference, size-wise, I like this. Take a look at
that's looking much smaller than what we got.
In a second, but cockpit leads directly into the observation room, and there's a conference room, and cargo is maybe 1/8 of what it is right now. This size ship here is what sold me on the original concept. Now, what we have down here is not the final concept either. This is just part of the evolution of it. And that's grown a bit in this picture here and changed a lot. So you can see the cargo room, which is probably about 1/4 of the size of what we have right now. Docking collars, storage, the hangar above the cargo room, the bridge leading into the sanctuary. So this is a lot closer to what they're showing us at the moment, but still
what a crazy ship.
Bigger than this even. And it's very rare that I will say a ship is too big in Star Citizen, but if ever a ship got close to being too big, this is it. I'm not one to complain too much, but this is pushing the boundary of what I would consider excessive. And a lot of you absolutely love it. Everyone I speak to that owns this, they're thrilled. They're just happy about it. But there's so much internal space. The cargo area is just enormous. You can't even see end to end. It's so big. The turret on top is awesome. This is looking good in gray box even over here. And we'll do some interior shots, look at the interior in a second over there. But I gotta say, it's almost overwhelming. And right now, this is selling for $600. I guarantee you, this is going for $750, $800, and dare I say, push it to $900 on release, because it's just up there size-wise compared to, I guess, an Idris, which is also priced up there. So taking a look at some of the interior shots, the cockpit, obviously you don't pilot from the middle over there. There's a big strut in the way, but
yeah, I'm not sure that Banu Merchantman's going to have its gameplay. I don't know how they're going to get the gameplay for this thing in by the end of this year or even next year. That's some
awesome,
very exclusive gameplay. Maybe they'll just have like shops on there that people can access through kiosks.
Which will do your day-to-day actual healing, and then you have recovery beds similar to the ones we have on the.
So that's interesting, and obviously borrowing from Star Wars, we have the Bacta tanks you're sitting, but these aren't Bacta tanks, they're kind of, I don't know if it's gel or fluid, and you'll sit in that to heal yourself. I love that they've taken a different way. Usually the normal medical bed, you sit there and a hand wavium scan happens and suddenly you're healed. But in this particular case, if there's a leg injury or whatever it is, you dip yourself in there, you sit for a bit, and the gel itself goes and heals you. A nice twist, a little spin to add some variety to the way you can heal with these particular different alien species. So I like that a lot. And they went on for another 10 minutes showing all the different aspects and
all right, I got another one.
This is where your food will be. There'll be a map and everything. And there's no captain quarters, by the way, because the Banu live as a family
This
unit.
one sounds interesting.
So you will not.
Haven't looked at this, but it's popped up recommended for me a couple times. Let's see what they have to say about this. The title of the video is Starfield, How Star Citizen Got Exposed. Starfield versus Star Citizen.
The cat is finally out the bag with the latest Starfield reveal, giving the Cockney Gamer gang a glimpse of what to expect when the game releases later next year. Now, you'll find a ton of videos analysing the gameplay, but Reggie here actually had an intervention type moment watching that 12-minute showcase, which was simply this. I ain't as hard for Star Citizen as I once was. And before you Star Citizen fanboys throw your toys out the pram and cry to your mummy, recognise that Reggie here is a backer of Star Citizen and has played it for many, many years. So why do I think Starfield has given us Star Citizen fans something to think about? Well, get yourself a little beer and let's have a chat.
I don't have any beer. I got some water. I can do that. Let's hear it.
Now, if it ain't obvious, everything here is speculation. My word is no bigger or better than your bloody word. So put down your torches and open your mind to the discussion at hand. Now, first of all, let's start with the most obvious point above everything else, which is Starfield
They're in space.
is not trying to be Star Citizen.
No.
They are very different games, people. One is a massive multiplayer online role-playing game space bloody extravaganza, and the other is the bastard child of No Man's Sky meets Skyrim.
True.
Likewise, there is definitely room for both titles to exist peacefully. You'd happily play both. So why is it then that Reggie believes Star Citizen has a bloody nose after this gameplay reveal? Well, to put simply, we have been promised by the Star Citizen overlords a rich world of spaceflight, planetary exploration, incredible graphical effects. We've been promised for 10 years now a universe that has a multitude of new and exciting, never done before mechanics, like owning a ship that you can walk around and then land anywhere on any planet you come across in a rich star system, providing literally thousands of different locations. We've been promised upgrades to ships and weapons, mods and various missions, which by the way are already implemented, albeit in a very early stage. However, in that time, people, I've been married, had a kid, got divorced and remarried
the
again.
age-old.
Star Citizen was a pretty mind-blowing reveal 10 years ago, but knowing that Star Citizen
The
developers
amount of
are
things
now
that I've done
creating
since
things
Star
like
Citizen was announced is
deformable
insane.
bed sheets, and you have to start questioning Star Citizen's priorities and ask them to stop having so many Tommy tanks and get moving. And this is really where my
Cut it out with the
comparison
bed
begins
sheets, buddy.
with
Isn't it funny? So this is something that always happens. Criticism. Squadron 42 is never criticized. But this is like, this whole thing, this bedsheet thing is a thing for Squadron 42. At least when it was shown, it was a thing for Squadron 42. And it just goes to show every single time that somebody makes one of these articles, they don't care what it's actually about. Like they're not going to put Squadron 42 into the headline because they know that won't get clicked as much, so they put Star Citizen in. Star Citizen gets so much of the crap for Squadron 42's mistakes, like its delays and stuff. Star Citizen has delays, but Squadron was the one that always passed up the deadlines. And it's other stuff like this that's just like
priorities and ask them to stop having so many Tommy tanks and get moving. And this is really where my comparison begins with Starfield, because you'll start to see that Starfield has all of those things that I just mentioned, and in some cases even more. So we really are at a crossroads here, people, where Starfield's impending release is breathing down the neck of what Star Citizen is offering, and its fans, the Star Citizen fans that is, they need to take a long hard look at what the project now is and what the bloody hell has been going on when elements of Starfield appear to offer so much more in return.
Oh
Star
boy.
Citizen is at
Wait,
risk
wait, dude, we only got one gameplay look. I mean, I'm all on board with the idea that Starfield's gonna offer things that Star Citizen also does, and they'll be comparable in some ways, and people will probably choose one or over the other. But this statement,
offer so much more in return. Star Citizen,
that's you can't make that call.
Starfield appear to offer so much more in return. Star Citizen is at risk of losing the more casual fans if their spaceflight fetish is quenched by Starfield. I've got no issues that the loyal fan base will always
I do
continue
think that the casual
supporting
players
Star-
will probably sway more into Starfield to see what's up, but I don't think that the things that Starfield and Star Citizen do in common, Starfield's going to end up offering more. I mean, even when it comes to spaceflight, Starfield might be the first one to release a finished model, but I don't think that model is going to offer as much to players. Same goes for something like getting resources in the game and other stuff like that.
Star Citizen, and I'm one of them. I'm talking about average Joe Smith on the bloody streets who goes home to his wife every day. Is he going to give a shit about Star Citizen when the Starfield is looking as good as it is? So let's take a look at what some of those elements might be. Star Citizen's planetary tech is nothing short of wow, and it will leave you a little wet in your pants. Even now, you'll be left amazed.
For a second, I thought he meant nothing short of World of Warcraft. I was like, what does that mean?
Rock formations, atmospheric conditions such as cloud and rain, a day and night cycle, and the sheer expanse of the whole universe. It just blows you away. The first time you step off your ship in Star Citizen is truly one of those great gaming moments, up there with the very best on offer, and one that everyone should experience. And yet we hear that Starfield will have 1,000 planets to explore and land on in any location of your choosing.
When was this when was this made? Was this made before June 14th? Okay, so he put this out before we got it confirmed that you could not fly down to planets in Starfield, because that's a pretty big difference when it comes to this. That's the difference between living in that universe that White Light was just talking about in his own video, and essentially hitting a spot, hitting a load screen, and playing a different game.
We do not expect there to be the same detail as Star Citizen when it comes to the handcrafted elements, but people, here's the thing. If Starfield is able to pull off, say, I don't know, 10 planets that are handcrafted with the remainder having decent procedural generation, then the tech of Star Citizen is starting to show some creaks. Star Citizen was way ahead of games like Elite Dangerous when it came to its planetary tech, and given the investment difference, that makes sense. And whilst No Man's Sky has certainly turned it around and is highly respected in the space sim genre, its own planetary technology still doesn't have that same fidelity of Star Citizen. So really, Star Citizen's only competitor
No Man's Sky has some crazy
is
planets though.
Starfield. And let's not forget what the amazing modding community is going to do with this game. I'm expecting whole brand new star systems to come with handcrafted features, giving Starfield real longevity. Out of the two, it's Starfield that is currently making me wettest. Next comes the ships. Now, whatever your views are of Star Citizen and what you think of the so-called backers, you cannot deny that the ships have been nothing short of mind-blowing. Now, I am actually part of the problem here. To those of you in particular who might hate Star Citizen, because old Muppet here, he spent $115 of his own bloody money buying the Cutlass Black ship, and I became a fully fledged backer. Now, I didn't buy it because I wanted a half-decent ship that are easy enough to farm in the game, free of course. No, instead, I did it because I bought into the vision of what Star Citizen strives for, and the fidelity and detail of those ships is a big turn on for me.
Yeah,
it's
solid.
a project that is as much fan made as it is developer made, and I'm actually proud to support the projects at hand. However, people,
That's the only reason why you should buy ships.
Starfield has just given Star Citizen a Will Smith style public slap in this particular area, because they're promising fully customizable ships that you create and staff with your own bloody crew. A ship that has full interiors that you can then fly about and shoot shit
This
down.
actually
along with
impressed
what
the
appears
crap
to
out of
be
me.
A fully fleshed out flight system.
Did not expect
that we've
this.
become accustomed to in Star Citizen, such as docking, power levels, and ship stats. Me and Johnny Two Shoes are already getting excited at becoming
See again,
proper and ship
like,
come
okay,
down
so
along
let's talk about
a
ship
ship
interiors,
that
right?
fully
Ship interiors are going to be cool, but how much of the stuff on this screen is stuff that's ever planned to be usable? Are you actually going to use the table? Are you actually going to pick the stuff up off that table? Are you going to turn the lights on and off? Are you going to change the atmospheric composition of your ship? If you open the door, will it vent the ship? Does that map on the table over there, is that ever planned to work? Like, there's having a ship interior, and then there's having a ship interior, right? If Elite Dangerous did ship interiors the way they're talking about doing ship interiors in this game, I don't think people really would have enjoyed it that much. And I think there's like a pretty big gulf in the comparison between ship interiors in this game versus Star Citizen, at least from what they've shown us so far. And things like taking off from planets, the NPCs on these ships. I am excited to see what they'll actually allow you to do, but I imagine it'll be things like Mass Effect had, where you can just give them an assignment and then they disappear from your screen and a timer goes down and they complete that assignment at some point.
And shoot shit down along with what
And then there's other things like like docking. I mean, this is probably going to be a single button and then you load into the other ship's interior and then you're playing the game. I can't imagine this is going to be a whole sequence of manual docking and boarding and possibly, you know, even making your own entrances into the ship and stuff like that. That's kind of where I'm coming from when I said earlier that I don't think the things that Starfield and Star Citizen have in common are going to find Starfield having the deeper experience, because it doesn't make sense. Star Citizen is the more specialized game. Starfield, by all means, is probably going to be an introduction for a lot of people to Star Citizen. You know, you play that AAA game that came out that made headlines and was super popular, and then you're like, I want more of this. I want this deeper. I want to do this in a more tactile fashion. And then you find things like No Man's Sky and Star Citizen and Space Engineers and stuff like that.
Levels and ship stats. Me and Johnny Two Shoes are already getting excited at becoming proper pirates here. Now, at first glance, I think the ships look pretty decent in Starfield, perhaps not up to the standard of Star Citizen, but again, you just know the modding community is going to come up with something spectacular in due course. The fact that ships can be walked around in and fly anywhere is going to be another wow moment of gaming, and one that Star Citizen can no longer claim to take the lead on. Now, I've mentioned that the games are very different, and quite rightly so. Comparisons.
Starfield
on
is gonna be
story are
amazing
not
when it
fair.
gets mods.
Many of
Oh
you
my
are gonna just
gosh.
view this video as clickbaity and dismiss it and probably call me an asshole in the comments, and all fair play to you people. However, there is one key factor that we are forgetting, and that is that I paid money for Squadron 42, which is the standalone single player element in Star Citizen. Now, that's been in development for bloody years, people.
Yeah,
and we've
Squadron
seen
42 is
nothing of
definitely
it. I
one
tell
that
you
deserves a
something,
lot
boys and
more
girls.
criticism.
Frank the Mank once did that to me, and let's just say he got a little slap for it. In comparison, Starfield has a fleshed out campaign with full on gunplay and facial animations, with it all being fully voice acted. Now, the gunplay itself didn't look amazing.
Wait,
I
what
can't
was he
deny
comparing
that,
this to?
but little slap for boys and girls. Frank the Mank once did that to me, and let's just say he got a little slap for it. In comparison, Starfield.
Sorry.
And we've seen nothing of it.
What?
Citizen. Now, that's been in development for bloody years, people, and we've seen nothing of it. I tell you something, boys and girls. Frank the Mank.
Wait. What?
And we've seen nothing of it. I tell you something, boys and been in development for bloody years, people, and we've seen nothing of it. I tell you something, boys and girls. Frank.
I don't understand.
Bloody years, people, and we've seen nothing of it.
I'm sorry to keep replaying that. We've seen multiple videos of Squadron 42. What is he talking about?
I tell you something, boys and girls. Frank the Mank once did that to me, and let's just say he got a little with full on.
Because then he goes on here to say
Starfield has a fleshed out campaign with full
Squadron 42 has a fleshed out campaign. We've seen the bones of.
on gunplay and
It has gunplay.
facial animations,
Has facial animations.
with it all being fully voice acted.
And it's all been fully voice acted. We've seen more of Squadron 42 than we've seen of Starfield. I don't know where
Now,
he's
the
coming from with
gunplay
that one.
itself didn't look amazing. I can't deny that, but it certainly didn't look bad, and certainly no worse than what Star Citizen has. When Squadron.
Wait, hold on. And this might actually be some people might not. Whoops. Some people might not know about this, so let me pull it up real quick, because like I recognize that it's a little bit older, so people might not have seen it, but there is an hour-long gameplay straight from Squadron 42. Like, this is on YouTube. It's public. You can watch it over and over again, and then like even after that, we have a trailer which explains quite a bit of what's going on in the story and kind of some of those points. The baddies with the cute faces. And then we've also got like some visual teasers too that show some of the locales and the places that they've designed. We've definitely seen quite a bit of Squadron 42, so I'm not sure where that comes from, but yeah, I would say if you're interested in learning more about it and you didn't know that stuff's there, definitely give it a look, because it's cool stuff. It's not recent, but it is cool.
Analysis of it worse than what Star Citizen has. When Squadron 42 is released, we can have a proper analysis of it, of course. But the reason another blow has been dealt here is that Star Citizen has very little.
No. I don't blame you, Listic, for missing that stuff. But I do think like if you're gonna make a statement like that on a platform like YouTube, you should definitely do a quick search and make sure we haven't seen anything.
This point as to the lack of single player campaign.
I think he's just talking about how no end in sight for release, whereas Starfield will be out soon. But like, listen to the statement. He's very clear about what he's saying.
Single player element. I paid money for Squadron 42, which is the standalone single player element in Star Citizen. Now, that's been in development for bloody years, people, and we've seen nothing of it. I tell you something, boys.
He says it's been in development for a decade and we've seen nothing of it. I'm like, I was with him up until that. I mean, Squadron 42 deserves some deserves a lot of criticism, but that is a
At
misstatement.
least we can have a proper analysis of it, of course. But the reason another blow has been dealt here is that Star Citizen has very little to hide behind at this point as to the lack of single-player campaign, when Starfield has managed to create a Skyrim-sized campaign with a universe that competes with Star Citizen. I haven't even
I agree to
touched
an extent
upon
there.
the robust character
Squadron should have been
creation
out by
in
now.
addition to the huge planetary bases that you get to build in Starfield, and also Staff Up, which is going to add a huge amount of personality and immersion to everyone's game. It's at this point, though, when I watched this video, that I knew that Starfield was going to offer something incredible and something that even Star Citizen has not yet provided. It's way too early to compare graphical features, of course, for either game, as both are still in development, but Star Citizen has a hold over me. You see, the nicest planets of Elite Dangerous, or the most spectacular vistas of No Man's Sky, they cannot match the sheer vibrancy of what Star Citizen has. The way you would have to take a train from the city to the launch pad just blew me away in Star Citizen. However, the gameplay
It's funny to
reveal of
hear the
Starfield and the graphical
difference in
fidelity
opinions on stuff like that.
display, I'm really struggling to hold that same kind of affection for Star Citizen. And do yourself a favour, people, because after watching this video and subscribing like proper gang members, go to the bloody YouTube channel with the 4K trailer to truly get an
I love how
idea
he
of how it all
calls
looks.
everything
the
bloody.
City of Atlantis, as an example, is just as good as anything in Star Citizen. The world looks alive with fauna, with creatures roaming about.
Look at all those NPCs walking
Anything
around at
in
normal
Star
speeds
Citizen.
and
The
like
world looks alive with
in
fauna,
normal ways. You see that?
with creatures roaming about, having a proper laugh, an intricate little cave system to do mining. These are all things that you find in Star Citizen, of course. Now, I don't know if we're going to have a real world day-night cycle like you get in Star Citizen, but the bottom left compass of the HUD suggests there is indeed some kind of shadow covering the planet. My guess here is that the graphic prowess needed to run Starfield puts it already in the 4080 RTX style cards, and I'd be amazed if this was all running natively on Xbox. But time will tell, of course. I already have Johnny on the case to secure me one of those new cards. So Starfield then, I don't think it's going to do anything new. Instead, I think it's taking the best features of Star Citizen, Elite Dangerous, and No Man's Sky.
Oh, is that right, Jay-Bird? He was saying we think nothing of it? Oh, I thought he said we see nothing of it. I got you.
And mashing them all together, throwing a structure of a Fallout or Skyrim type campaign, and Starfield has all the ingredients to take the space sim crown and then some, especially once the modding support kicks in. What the reveal did do, however, is shine a torch on Star Citizen for us to have a proper inspection, because here we have a game worthy as a competitor. Star Citizen's wow moments are starting to look dated in comparison, and the slow progress of development means Starfield will likely be modded, have DLC, or be divorced and remarried all over again before we ever see Star Citizen getting released. And
That's
not to
probably. I agree with the second part of that
starting to
sentence.
look dated.
Definitely not the first.
Worthy as a competitor. Star Citizen's wow moment.
I don't.
Because here we have a game worthy as a competitor.
I don't think I'll ever consider
Star Citizen's
Starfield
wow
a
moments
competitor
are
to Star
starting to look
Citizen.
dated in
Maybe
comparison,
Squadron.
and the slow progress of development means Starfield will likely be modded, have DLC, or be divorced and remarried all over again before we ever see Star Citizen.
Yeah, I
getting
don't
released.
I
And
don't
that's not
see
to
people
say that
going
Star
to
Citizen
these
is
two
bad,
games for the
people,
same
because it's
reasons.
not. It's excellent. It continues to take up a lot of my time. It has a huge amount going for it, and as mentioned, this is a simulator trying to do something very, very different to Starfield. But when you analyse some of its biggest features, such as its unique ships, its planetary tech, or the non-existent single-player campaign in the form of Squadron 42, you really do start to see the cracks appearing and the sheen coming away. And that's because there was never a competitor for Star Citizen, unlike now. Now, I'm still a defender of what Star Citizen is and what it wants to be, but even I cannot deny that Starfield has just given it a bloody nose, and perhaps that is what is needed. Anyway, you boys and girls have a lovely day.
I'm gonna love to see the way that Starfield contrasts with Squadron, but I just don't see Star Citizen as a competitor with Starfield. That doesn't sound right. I think it would be like, oh man, what would that even remind me of? I feel like that's kind of the difference between like The Witcher 3 and Elder Scrolls Online, but that's probably not, that's also not a great one. Yeah, it just doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like you're gonna have to pick one or the other. If anything, I can see them both wanting to make people play the other, because one's lacking something the other one has, and they're both in the same genre, but they're definitely not, like, they don't feel like direct competitors. I'm looking forward to both. I do hope that Starfield does go into more depth with some of that stuff. But I don't know. It seems like Starfield is focused more on what makes Bethesda games, and that's never really been super in-depth gameplay and stuff like that. No Man's Sky and Elite are the only two competitors you could think of. I would say, no, Emperion's not really a competitor to that. Those are probably the most competitor-y kind of games for it, yeah. And Star Atlas, you know, one of the new killers of Star Citizen that we've seen. Let's see. All right. For the next couple videos, why don't we look at some Star Citizen videos? Let's look at some of the stuff that they were talking about like a year or two ago and see what of it has made it into the game. Because that's always what happens, right? We see all this stuff, some of it looks cool, and then we just forget about it. And CIG just kind of scoots it along. They're like, hey, this isn't actually happening. Don't worry about us. Let's look at an Inside Star Citizen episode. Actually, no. Let's look at a Star Citizen Live episode. How about... Oh man, vehicle experience team. That'd be fun. I want something of a decent length. How about... It's a good Inside Star Citizen episode. Vehicle tech team. That should be fun. Let's jump in here real quick. I want to see what kind of questions we got.
And if you've never seen Star Citizen Live before, well, you're probably watching.
Physicalized damage, physicalized components.
Can you give us on physicalized damage?
This is actually super important. This is kind of
other interior
salvage related stuff.
It's tough to give hard updates. I can tell you where it's at because it is between. Physical damage is a big undertaking. It's not just about ships. This is about everything in the game. And generally, the top level intent that Chris has had for this system is broad. And the reason I say that is every material in the game should be a real material. Has, you know, tensile strength and all the things you would expect of a real material. So, you know, it's not a very...
Which is ridiculous. I can't even... These are the kinds of things I hear and I'm just like... Actually, though, like really, every material is going to have its own material properties. That's insane. That's gonna take forever. Maybe it won't. I don't actually know. But that's also one of those things that's like, Starfield's never gonna do that. They'll have some materials you can get, but those will be commodities exclusively. They're not gonna be things that you can use to repair your ship or to trade for specific types of components that people need to build and stuff like that. This game tries to go so much deeper, and that's kind of part of its downfall, but it's also what makes it so different.
Excuse me. Game.
Oh, I absolutely think the game is too ambitious at times.
Value or whatnot. He wants to go through and have every one of those materials, whether it's a box, whether it's a character, whether it's a ship, whether it's a space station, all be respected. That's mass, everything that comes with it. So you can imagine how many teams that affects. And then on top of that, because the way our surface types work with physics and where they're actually stored is very art centric. So our physics type and what the impact of that given surface will do is defined actually by an artist when they do the physical proxy. So it's also stored in the material. So anything that we do within here is not only going to affect all the gameplay balance of the ships. Again, it's not just health anymore, or not just parts, but it's actual density and thickness and those kind of things that'll affect. But it's also
yet
gonna
more
affect
things.
the art setup itself.
This is like this on top of the armor. This is just more of the stuff that's like why nobody should be paying attention to ship balances right now. Your ship's going to have mass. You're going to put cargo in it. It's going to fly differently. Like this ship has VTOL, so that density is going to react differently in this atmosphere. All this stuff sounds super complicated, but like if you think the game is going to go where they want it to go, then you shouldn't look at the ships as they perform right now, because all this stuff they talk about, which is freaking crazy, it should be changing the way that they all work. But Grumpy, you get why they do the beams, right? Like I'm sure you understand that how they do that as like the step one, and they want to build the other stuff on top of it. I personally like the beams. I like that they do everything basic with this basic beam gameplay that anybody can pick up, because then at least people don't, like, as soon as somebody wants to start it, they don't look and see this crazy complex way of healing somebody and think, I'm never going to heal my friend. They can at least know that, like, if there's one way to do it, it's just to shoot their friend with a little Pepto-Bismol beam. The BR2 shotgun showed us that they actually give properties to everything. What did they do with that shotgun? I actually don't even know that.
Because all of that stuff comes into play, because obviously we don't want to have an aluminum on the ship. Well,
Need to be able to take a set of objects and refactor it to a single
we don't want
object.
to have that aluminum act differently or read differently on a box, on a
See,
character,
McD, that's a good
and do
call.
something different. So anyways, long story short, affects a lot of teams. I think everybody understands that. Where
It's
things
lazy,
are
at least
currently
for
at
salvage.
is on the core gameplay pillar.
Yeah,
Tyra,
it's lazy, but at least they don't. At least we finally get it. I think I probably won't get beam. I won't get sick of the beams until we get to, like, if they do something farming related and they're like, okay, now shoot a beam into the dirt to make the plants grow, then I'm gonna be like, all right, guys, come on now. That would be too much for me.
and the physics guys have been doing a ton of work just going back and forth with narrative, because again, we have some real materials, like a titanium or whatever, but we also have things that are created from in-game lore that are lore materials. Let's say it's a real material that exists just not in the
Unobtainium.
real world. So we have to come up with all those values, and they have to coincide with the reality of a value. So it's even just getting the details of all of that. Then beyond that, it's talking about, what's the kinetic sort of reaction of it, the radiant reaction. I've got a list here: thermal, electrical, chemical, cold, heat, rarity. Like there's so many layers of it. So really, right now, it's a big Excel sheet of here's all the services
Wait,
that we're gonna.
holy crap, guys! I'm pretty sure this is the video I was talking about earlier. Earlier in this stream, I mentioned that Kirk Tomei had gone on camera and said they weren't going to add. Hold on.
Realistic and intuitive. So it should be like you're getting into the driver's seat of your car. All the buttons should be intuitive. They should read out a door system that will shut that off, so that you're
scanning and radar goes.
Sure. I'll start off. So like as has been clear, scanning, and then we'll take a pass afterward.
Where is it?
Team won't, but we'll have one of our teams do a balance pass so that all the ships are generating signatures that are within the ranges that they should.
Hey, it's me.
And then same thing for players. Same thing for anything that.
I'm pretty sure this is the video where he says that they don't want to release ships without their features, their main features.
Design
But
devices that you actually interact with to change the door states, and they can have as many buttons as you want. Very, I don't know if this blasts me.
I can't find it like that.
Cars-ish UI to be able to
Let's see, what else are they asking?
The states of all the things you can with the control panel, and it's much more useful as far as giving player feedback as far as what the state of the room is and what they.
Oh, there's a thunderstorm outside. This is not a recent vid. This is from last year. I'm gonna jump to another one. There's a lot of really good Star Citizen Live episodes. Let's jump into another and see if we can get some good. Ooh, here we go. No, not building NPC behaviors. Let's do EUPU. They touch a lot of very important things. How about...
Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. I'm just enjoying my planetary report.
Let's talk about loot generation. We can get a better idea of what their long-term plans are, because we already got some, but not all of it. And while we're listening to this, I will be right back, guys. I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick.
The idea came about as we noticed that the actor feature team was working on looting. So the problem came that they were working on looting, but we didn't have anything to loot. They were thinking, yeah, loot from the character you just killed, but that is just a part of the puzzle. We would like to have a rich world in which if I enter an underground facility, well, there's stuff there I can just pick up, I can just loot, I can steal, I can... So there's the legal part of looting where you go there and you find things that belongs to no one, it's yours now. Then there's the stealing part of looting, as in this crate of goodies is in someone's house. He is there. If he sees you do it, that's theft. So that is pretty much, and the loot generation pretty much covers the generation of items, of various types of items based on tags. And I think I can let Jacob talk a bit more about this part because he's doing more the engineering and how that works. So all I can say is that it just pretty much picks from a big pool of items who are tagged in a certain way, the ones that match that location. So if it's a desert medical outpost, I expect to find medical things. I expect to find crates that are, I don't know, refrigerated so they don't melt. If it's a beating heart inside, it doesn't melt in the desert. It needs to have medical brands on the crates, and the items inside, they need to be branded from any of our medical companies. So,
all right, let's see. Grumpy, you were saying there was a bug in the last patch where you could fire a rail gun and grenade ammo through the shotgun, and all the rounds would split into pellets because the shotgun fires pellets, but the ammo was still railgun ammo. Huh. Do you think it wasn't just like the gun was just defaulting to the animation it was supposed to have? You think it was actually was it actually firing the railgun ammo? That's an interesting glitch. Why are they not focusing on the now already playable combat ships? So that was a video not about what they're doing with ships overall. It was about a specific ship that was coming out, and he was just saying what we're focusing on now, because we used to release video ships like the Reclaimer that would come out and they wouldn't have anything to do for 4 years. Now what we want to do is at least have the ship able to do the thing that it can do. Not necessarily at gold standard or at the highest level of quality, just so that it can do it. So like the Raft came out and they basically were like, okay, it can still cargo haul. That's its main function. The one ship I think they've messed up on with that though is the 400i, because like that it's not a touring ship, it's an exploration ship, and there's really no exploration going on in its gameplay right now.
All of this stuff gets pretty much, we start with the location, and we do various spawn points inside that location where, like on a shelf it can spawn. We put a point, and that's where a crate where we tag how big can you be. It can spawn, and
I'll check out that vid, Grum.
Choose how we do this, where I can choose a medical location where I can just spawn military equipment, because that's what I want. That's what my
The most ambitious feature that Star Citizen has planned or tried to do is probably server meshing. It seems, at least.
This is a medical location, has a medical tag. That tag gets propagated to that, let's say it's an outpost, the entire outpost. All the spawn points get that tag. Automatically, everything in there spawns medical things. Now, let's say I have a toilet in there. Generally, we don't want medical things to spawn.
Looting that toilet paper.
Inside that room, I just go, hey, you are now a toilet. So everything gets a toilet tag now instead of the medical tag. So that
hate it when that happens. You're now a toilet.
In there will have to be a toilet specific. I might find janitorial equipment. So when I open that crate, the UI will show me, well, there's a mop, there's whatever janitorial equipment is needed in that area.
Is this like the next evolution of the harvestable system? It sounds like something that can be built right on top of the work that you've done for the harvestables.
One for you, Jacob.
Yeah, very, very similar, in fact. In terms of generating the loot containers, it is the same system, just being used in a different way. And like Dan was saying,
Can I turn the video volume up? I think it's
designed to be
maxed.
very, very flexible. The
Me.
main goal with the implementation at the moment is to make sure that we give our level and mission designers all the flexibility they need to create whatever loot situation they want in a particular area.
Hopefully that helps.
So yeah, we can, the designers can define what we call a loot archetype, which is a collection of tags that the items should have, maybe some tags that they absolutely shouldn't have. And then from this, the system will generate a loot pool of all of the items that match that archetype to put in any containers that the designers give that archetype. But yeah, this will be flexible enough that it can take injected tags from the environment around it, like Dan was saying. So you put one of these containers that's got a weapons archetype that just by itself would be able to spawn any weapon. And if you put that in a high-tech place, it can get a high-tech tag and then only spawn high-tech weapons. You put it in a pirate place, it'll only spawn pirate stuff. That's the idea. But the real focus is on making it extremely flexible and customizable.
Oh, you know what this just inspired me? Why don't we watch that quantum video? Let's talk about quantum, because that's actually pretty confusing topic. Shaka, I have a video about the server meshing on my channel if you want to check it out. I think if you just type in Star Citizen server meshing, it should come up. Let's see, where was the quantum video? It is around here, son. There it is. If I can make a video discussion about development priorities, fixing navigation map versus deformable bed sheets, what I think are priorities. I could think about something like that.
Hi, I'm Tony Zervik, and I'm the director of Persistent Universe for Star Citizen. Today, I'm going to give you an update on how some of the back-end
talk to you
architecture
about
and
life
systemic...
insurance. Life insurance is just a deterrent, so you don't want to die. Basically, like everything in the game has insurance because you can lose things in the game. You can lose your life, you can lose your ship, you can lose your components. But if they're insured, not only does it act as a money sink in the game, it also acts as a deterrence because they haven't confirmed this, but I imagine, say you die, your life insurance cost, you would get charged more and more every time you die. So, yes, you've died. No, it's not permadeath, but you're going to see some pretty significant consequences from it. And one of those things is that sort of interaction with life insurance.
Functionalities coming along, what sort of progress we've made over the past year,
currency.
What's on the horizon, and how all of this is going to impact your gameplay experience. In order to give you a more comprehensive understanding of the long-term direction and what all of this will ultimately mean, I'm going to cover areas that are in various stages of development and will sometimes resort to illustrative examples so that the underlying concept can be made more clear. First, a quick review. Quantum is a simulation of the game universe, and its purpose is to allow things, the price of goods at a given shop, the amount of piracy near a landing zone, or what missions are being offered, to evolve and change over time in logical and realistic ways. It does this by simulating hundreds of thousands of lightweight NPCs called quanta, whose AI logic is focused on just those aspects needed to produce the required
This is a big one. You're going to hear people call the system quanta. It's the system itself is quantum. Quanta is just the NPCs.
Based upon a small list of attributes, each quanta makes its own decisions using the same resources, shops, and jobs as players. The simulation will need to calculate many millions of decisions per minute, and thus the AI behavior of quanta is focused on the most economically impactful details, which lets quantum focus all of its processing power on just those things that truly matter. Every quanta possesses its own unique set of attributes that influence how well it performs and how it perceives opportunities. The initial implementation of attributes will have two main categories.
So basically what he's saying is that AI in this game are going to be simulated. We're going to have, say you have 10 million AI, 9 million of those will be, you have 10 million characters, right? 9 million will be AI, 1 million will be players. Those AI will all have different personalities, different wants and desires in terms of the work they do and how much money they want to earn, and different levels of risk aversion. Those will be simulated for the most part in the background, which is what we're going to watch throughout this video, but they also will be rendered and realized as subsumption AI, which is what they call it, whenever a player comes near.
This quanta, the payout for both jobs looks the same. However, as we decrease the aggression rating of this quanta, we can see that the perceived amount of money for both jobs changes. Again, the actual pay hasn't changed at all, only the perceived value from that quanta's point of view.
Yeah, Meech, this kind of stuff definitely, the quantum, I'm working on a video about this actually for next week. One for channel members, sign up if you want exclusives, and one for the public that's going to be shorter and not as historically contextual. But I will be talking about my hesitations in believing how well this system's going to work, because this is crazy.
Possible for the quanta to choose security, but in this case, security would need to pay 4 times as much. If we change this quanta's aggression trait to be very high, the opposite happens. Now, the aggressive security job looks like it pays much more, and the peaceful factory worker jobs appear to pay much less. Of course, jobs have more than a single trait to distinguish themselves. Suppose we take another aggressive job, pirate. With just one dimension, the pirate job would look just as lucrative to this quanta as the security job. We can differentiate between these two jobs by adding the morality trait and putting both of these aggressive jobs on the proper place on that scale. Now that all jobs have a unique combination of trait alignments, we can watch the perceived payout for all 3 of these jobs change, even though, in this case, all jobs actually pay the exact same amount. We're currently experimenting with...
So this is a cool solution. Again, it's super complex. In my opinion, I think this is very complex on a large scale. But I guess it's all just numbers at the end of things. They haven't said how much they want to have on a single shard, but they want to go as big as possible. And I don't think they know how big that is yet. So the cool part about this is when you think of an economy in a game and you think of, say, you wanted to simulate all of the people who would live in a star system, right? And you give them all a selection of 20 different missions. Let's say that 3 of those missions are really high paying, they're bounty hunting. 5 of those missions are lower paying, they're mining, and 2 of those missions are in the middle, and they're passenger transport. Now, obviously, you would assume if you put a bunch of AI into a system and said, hey, these AI want to make money, they want to work jobs. But then you also said, oh, this economy is dynamic, and it's changing based on what people are doing and who needs more money. Well, all those AI are going to jump to the bounty hunting missions, right? Because they want to make the most money the quickest, which kind of... Not only does it skew all the prices and earnings, making it impossible for players to make money bounty hunting, but it also means that bounty hunting jobs just don't get to spawn because all the AI are taking them. And I think this is a really cool solution to stopping that problem by making sure that many of the AI aren't even interested in bounty hunting missions. Maybe they don't like to get into fights, or maybe they just like mining more. And it encourages them to then balance into that system based on that. What they want. And I love how that can be expanded out to say, in Pyro, obviously you'll have plenty of AI who want to take a lot of risk to make a little bit of money, whereas in Stanton, not so much. Whereas in Terra, the people are so they want money so bad, but they're so risk averse that they'll straight up leave the system to go somewhere that's a little bit safer because they can't find a job there. I think this could be really cool on a large scale. But again, I just want to see it happen first.
With 4 different traits, but expect to add at least a few more over time to help ensure that quanta do not congregate around the highest paying job at any given moment, and instead, just like a real population of individuals, all perform their own unique mental calculus to determine what looks most appealing to them, and in effect gives us the nice distribution of workers that we want. The quantum simulation that we ran at the last CitizenCon was implemented in TypeScript, a relatively slow language that limited us to less than 10,000 quanta. All of that logic has since been rewritten in C#, and a lot of time and effort invested into optimizing the threading and resource locking, which wound up increasing performance by more than 2 orders of magnitude. Stanton is one of the more complex solar systems and will require about 50 to 100,000 quanta in order to achieve the required fidelity, which means we've got a lot of extra headroom without any additional performance tuning to support upcoming solar systems like Pyro. Much like a real economy, quantum produces a tremendous amount of data, and there are countless ways to adjust the simulation. Finding a combination that produces the desired results is difficult.
Whoa, hold up. No, Hunter, get out of here with that bullshit. You're not going to insult people like that. You're not going to call somebody useless because you don't like the content they make, buddy. That's a timeout. Sorry about that, but no. You're not insulting people just because you don't like their stuff. Grumpy is pretty cool. I enjoy watching his videos. We've been talking this whole stream. No, none of that.
And in order to solve this problem, we created Odin, a plugin for the Python-based JupyterLab environment. Odin is a powerful web-based tool that allows for real-time data interpretation of the game's dynamic and complex economy based on the actions of both players in the live game and Quanta. Here, I'm using Odin to simultaneously show all of the graphs related to the economy of aluminum, where it's mined, refined, manufactured, and sold around the Stanton system. It's a bit overwhelming, so I'm going to refine the search by adding the word buying to the Graph Explorer. Before seeing the actual graphs, we can preview which ones our search has identified, which is very useful in more complicated search scenarios. In this case, though, we've already whittled things down to a manageable size, so I'm going to jump to the actual graphs. Everything looks pretty healthy. You can see the cyclical nature of commodity prices, a sign that we're on the right track and getting the economic modulation we want. All of these graphs are updated from the simulation in real time, and we can zoom in on particular time periods of interest, which is invaluable when trying to figure out exactly why the availability of a critical resource dried up or the price of something went through the roof. With such a complex system, it's often difficult to predict what sort of information we might want to inspect, and Odin was therefore designed to be extremely flexible.
The crazy part is they want to do this. All these graphs, they want to do this, right? This is just for aluminum buying, and they want to do this for every material that exists in the game. That is crazy. That's so much. Wowzers. Grumpy, you heading out, dude? Have a good time with the dogs, man. I'll catch you later.
Price of something went through the roof. With such a complex system, it's often difficult to predict what sort of information we might want to inspect, and Odin was therefore designed to be extremely flexible and adaptive. One particularly powerful data analysis tool that we developed allows us to view the flow of goods and services from a high-level perspective just as easily as it can that derived from Quanta. It's fully linked into the law system, for example, and can thus generate a heat map showing where players are committing specific crimes. If there's too much PvP in an area that's supposed to be secure, we might add more security, place additional turrets, or increase the penalties levied by the law system. To be clear, Odin's analytical and statistical capabilities will be of extensive benefit to the quantum simulation too, as they'll allow it to better understand how to adjust various dials and levers to allow for a dynamic universe where things logically ebb and flow and everything functions as part of a larger, more complex machine. Quanta focused on transporting goods, for example, will demand a price premium based upon how much risk they'll be exposed to on their route, and Odin can sort all of the possible paths they might take by risk, fuel consumption, or whatever other metric they wish to consider so that they can decide whether they're interested in the job, and if so, what sort of payment they would require. Here's a bar graph showing where all of these felons are spending their time.
That is just...
And another one showing how they're spending their money.
When they add in religion...
Odin can identify the most popular mining sites, as well as what materials are being extracted from those locations. It knows what sort of ships players are flying, how many players are on board, and what sort of ships they're squaring off against. Odin has complete knowledge of the mission system, which allows it to map player positions against the missions they've accepted. In one shot, then, we can get a sense of which missions players find most interesting.
So this is already what they're showing here with these probability volumes. It's actually already in the game to some extent. If anybody hasn't noticed, keep an eye out. Ever since 3.17 started, you'll see a bunch of combat beacons constantly showing up. And those are based on these probability volumes, basically saying, so like if this red one was pirates and this blue one was security, or sorry, this blue one was traders, it'd basically be saying there's a 100% chance of finding a pirate right here. There's like a 10% chance of finding a pirate here. So as they change these curves in any given area, let's say this is the planet R-Corp, so this is like within 28,000 meters of R-Corp. You get 21,000 out and you've got a 30% chance of running into a pirate. You get 7,000 out and you've got a 100% chance. Whereas with traders, you get 7,000 out, you've got a 50% chance of hitting a trader, and you go out 25,000 and you've got a 10% chance. And they can calculate the possibilities of those two things running into each other And when that happens, it spawns the conflict and you get that beacon. So we've already been able to start seeing that in 3.17 happening, but it's very, very limited, and it's only for those specific combat beacons. But this is kind of how that, not necessarily emergent, but surprise gameplay that you're not expecting, that pirate that pulls you out of quantum travel, or that trader that asks for help refueling themselves, this is how they will go about making sure that you get exposed to that as well.
Creating more of that type of content, and where those missions are taking them, so that we can understand sections of the solar system that are underutilized. One of the most interesting graphs we've created is this one that measures mission design quality. Each circle represents a mission, and larger circles indicate that more players have done that particular mission. The x-axis details the percentage of players that successfully completed the mission out of all of the players who completed it. And the y-axis denotes the percentage of players that finished the mission, even if they failed it. This exposes all sorts of interesting insights to us.
This is also really cool.
Low positions on the graph, for example, indicate that most players are getting a result other than success or failure. They're either abandoning the mission or disconnecting, neither of which is good. Positions on the far left mean that most of the players that undertook that mission failed it. The lower left quadrant signifies missions that are abandoned frequently and fail when they aren't, which likely points to a problem. Missions near the lower right have a high success rate, but are frequently abandoned, possibly indicating that they're too easy or boring. The most interesting missions are in the upper middle. They're frequently played through to the end, but aren't always successful. These are the missions that are both engaging and difficult. We use information like this to
does anybody know if other games do this? This seems like such a no-duh kind of system. Because don't you want to be able to understand how the missions are being completed? This has to be a normal thing. So I'm wondering, how effective is this if you're just looking at it? When do we get to see how it's being actioned upon, you know? JDoos, by the way, thank you so much for becoming a supporter here on YouTube. Much appreciated. They won't wipe everybody's... They'll wipe everybody's progress throughout alpha, but that's the distinction. A lot of this stuff is stuff you need to take into account for when the game's complete, and that won't be for a while. This does not happen in other games? Really? Rainbow Six Siege does this for balance points? Huh. I think most other games are much more abstract and controlled. MMOs have similar metrics, though I don't know if they display it in that format. Right, whatever this is obviously going to be like their internal tool to see this kind of thing. I don't need to know that this is happening, but this seems like an invaluable tool for devs to have if they're trying to make missions that are good, right? Or even if you want to make a mission that's bad and you want to make it purposefully bad, just go down to this bottom left quadrant and be like, let's do that one again. Yeah, that one's good. I hate that.
These are the missions that are both engaging and difficult. We use information like this to tune the simulation, but also to give us basic feedback on what sort of missions players find most appealing and where problems reside. The refining gameplay that was released late last year made use of a couple of new back-end services. The job service is more general purpose and will also be a key component in the implementation of a number of other upcoming features, including everything from cargo loading and unloading to repair, refuel, and restocking services. The refining service provides game servers with the ability to retrieve a refiner's available processing capacity and a price quote for a given quantity of material with the specified speed and quality options. These new services exemplify the way that development nowadays often proceeds, which is to ensure that all of the linkage to and from the data source is properly abstracted from the start, such that once Quantum can provide the necessary data, we can flip a switch to activate it. Previously, when Quanta traveled to a planet or a moon to mine a resource, they picked a random location on the surface. This meant that Quantum wasn't yet capable of generating the spatial fidelity we needed so that we could properly determine exactly where NPCs should and shouldn't be found. The resource service that we completed last year, however, provides Quantum with an API that not only gives it access to this information, but also enables
Here's another thing. I've always wondered if this is working in any capacity in the game. I don't even know how to test that other than to keep going back to the same place and tabulate that data yourself. But this is like one of the most simple things that would make such a big difference. Having actual known resource deposits that people can reliably go and find. Now, we all know that Lyria has Lyria has some pretty good deposits of Laranite, but we don't know if that's a moon-wide thing or a specific area on the moon's thing. I don't know. This really interests me, and I wish we would get to hear more about it.
to be modified so that as players in Quantum mine an area, it will gradually be depleted. To demonstrate, I brought up a plan.
You said it's working, but they can't
Now,
add too
I'm
much.
going to
Where did
highlight
you,
the location of all the gold
where'd you hear
ore.
that?
Players in Quanta, of course, would not have this information, and to represent that fact, I'm going to place a shadow over everything. You can see a single quant exploration ship approaching the planet from the right. As it travels across the surface, it will unveil the quantity and location of that ore, visually represented by removing the shadow, and then broadcast that information to other Quanta within its organization. It has discovered a huge vein of valuable ore, and quantum miners have now started arriving in mass to extract it. They're focusing predominantly on those areas where the concentration is known to be highest, although they'll also consider things like the amount of risk in a given area, perhaps caused by a player or NPC organization fighting to control that region. I'm running this at an accelerated rate, and you can see that the amount of ore at that first large site is declining rapidly. The explorer has now discovered a second field of gold ore near the equator, and because the original deposit has now been mined so extensively, what remains is more time-consuming and difficult to extract, and is thus relatively less attractive. The Quanta figured this out, and most of them have started to focus their attention on the newer site. Taken together, these new features allow Quantum to generate a lot more detailed information, which will in turn result in a better and more realistic gameplay experience. Quantum will know where exactly on the surface of a planet NPCs might be found and what they should be doing. It will understand the value of knowledge and factor its acquisition, sharing, and sale into its calculations, including what any information you eventually attempt to sell would be worth. Quantum has now been pretty thoroughly integrated into our backend architecture, and the service will be built and shipped with all future releases of the game, which took a considerable amount of time and effort given how different some of its tools and technologies were versus what we had already set up and configured.
Don't say this.
There's still a tremendous amount of work to do on the simulation side, but we are getting close to the point at which portions of its simulated data will be an improvement over the algorithmic logic embedded into various services.
Don't do it.
We're going to do a bit more testing before we enable it to start injecting that data into the live game, though, and even then we're going to start very small and limit the focus to a few select areas so that we can work out any problems. The first couple of commodities for which Quantum will gain the ability to dictate the price will be fuel and repair materials. We're also going to allow it to control the amount of piracy and possibly transport freighters and security in a few test locations, but keep in mind that until more of the data behind the curtains is exposed, the modulation may at times seem a bit arbitrary. We're going to be more aggressive with service beacons, and we'll soon move most of that responsibility, the type of beacon being offered, the location, the reward, and the difficulty, to Quantum.
Yeah, so
beacon being
this was he says later that they wanted to do this by the end of the year, and it didn't happen. This came in 3.17, everything they're talking about now. So like I said, the piracy freighter security probability volumes, that's in the service beacons. You see that fuel and repair are changing dynamically. But it took a while. This ended up not happening as fast as I think he wanted it to.
And we'll soon move most of that responsibility, the type of beacon being offered, the location, the reward, and the difficulty, to Quantum. Our primary focus right now is less on getting a lot of data moving back and forth and more on getting all of the technological plumbing working properly. In order to properly calculate fuel prices, for example, Quantum needs to have a concept of fuel, what type of ships Quanta are using, and fuel efficiency, none of which it previously had. In order to gauge the demand for repair services, ships in the simulation need a concept of damage, which didn't previously exist. There's often a lot of service work involved in allowing new types of data to flow between Quantum and the game. With iCache now largely complete, we've been able to shift some resources around, and within the last month have now doubled the number of engineers working on the systemic functionality. As a result, we're now in the early
For anybody who doesn't know, iCache was scrapped. Not scrapped, but changed, and they stopped using that terminology, honestly, around this time, I think.
Doubled the number of engineers working on the systemic functionality. As a result, we're now in the early stages of a number of critical new services, including everything from the air traffic control service that's required for server meshing, to the NPC scheduler that will enable dynamic populations, to the virtual AI service that is necessary for the next major feature I'm going to discuss.
Virtual AI! iCache became the entity graph.
Star Citizen's AI architecture is broken up into 3 distinct levels. The high-fidelity characters that you see in the game execute subsumption logic on a server, and this is far and away the most computationally expensive of the 3 types of AI. It's got a similar sense-think act cycle as the other AI, but because you can see the NPCs as they execute their tasks, there's often little to no potential for cheating or simplification. Something as simple as sitting in a chair requires a lot of item searching, animation, raycasting, collision detection, and more. This is a problem because in Star Citizen, we're trying to simulate entire solar systems, and we can't afford to execute this kind of expensive logic for tens of
yeah, and
thousands
that's
of characters
hard.
that players can't even see. So we do what many games do and temporarily suspend any AI that's not in proximity to a player. This creates another roadblock, though, because you can't effectively simulate an economy when portions of it are constantly being shut down and restarted, and it's the fundamental reason why quantum exists. Merging these two AI extremes, subsumption and quantum, solves our basic problem. NPCs look and act exactly as you'd expect when you can see them, and the universe's economic wheels always remain.
All right. So this is what I'm jumping
you can
forward
see the
here.
planets, ArcCorp, Hurston,
This is the coolest part, I think, of this whole system, and it's what I was talking about earlier. How they're always like AI can always be doing something, right? When they say the whole AI are going to outnumber players in this game 9-1, everyone thinks that means that when you're walking around, you're going to see 9 NPCs walking around next to you. That's not necessarily true. When they talk about that, they're talking about the simulation itself. So what we get to see here in this segment is the difference between a virtual AI that is doing that 9-1 simulation that they talk about and how it will change into a physical rendered AI in the game to interact with you and to fulfill those characteristics that the virtual AI was assigned in a way that allows you to enjoy the game more. It's really cool.
Microtech and Crusader. I'm going to zoom into the Crusader planetary area, and you can see its 3 moons, Yela, Daymar, and Selen, and the space station Port Olisar. You can imagine looking at that station, hundreds of NPCs going about their lives. This is how you think of the universe, always in motion, always changing, always real, regardless of whether you're actually looking at it or not. As I mentioned, though, that's an illusion. We can't afford it. When you're not looking, the server deactivates and unloads a lot of unnecessary baggage, but a wide assortment of back-end services retain knowledge of everything that really matters and provide an active interface to those systems. NPCs outside of landing zones are treated differently. Quantum accumulates statistical information for where NPCs should reside and what they should be doing from its quanta, which allows us to determine how often you should see a pirate or what a freighter you run into should have in its cargo hold. These areas are called probability volumes, and the important thing to note is that the NPCs they create are ephemeral. They pop into existence for a brief moment so that the area you're viewing looks like what Quantum says it should, and once they're sufficiently far from any players, are completely and forever destroyed. I'm going to add a player here, which you can see off to the left. As they pass by Daymar, they're in range of a probability volume that eventually decides they should encounter a pirate. So a pirate is created and engages the player, and after a bit, the player decides
that was that 10 versus 80% chance I was talking about.
They're outmatched and decides to run. Once they're sufficiently far from that NPC, it's destroyed. It doesn't persist in any fashion, and you'll never see them again. The player continues traveling to Port Olisar, and the translucent green wireframe indicates that the area isn't loaded on the server, and thus the subsumption AI isn't active. I'm going to add a VNPC in a moment, but first let's quickly recap what makes them...
Okay. I think I missed this. I don't know how many times I've watched this, but I'm pretty sure I just missed a pretty key thing he said.
It doesn't persist in any fashion, and you'll never see them again.
It sounds like he's saying that probability volume spawned AI might actually be just random placeholder AI with no real profile. If they're never spawned again.
Far from that NPC, it's destroyed. It doesn't persist in any fashion, and you'll never see them again.
He's saying it doesn't persist in any fashion, which means not as a virtual AI either. Now, in this next scenario, you do hear him talk about how the AI will persist. So it sounds like there will be virtual AI, but there will also just be these throwaway AI used for probability volumes. But let's keep going.
The player continues traveling to Port Olisar, and the translucent green wireframe indicates that the area isn't loaded on the server, and thus the subsumption AI isn't active. I'm going to add a VNPC in a moment, but first let's quickly recap what makes them so different. VNPCs always execute some form of AI logic, regardless of whether or not they are in proximity to a player. Virtual AI is extremely lightweight and computationally efficient, stripping out all of the expense related to visuals and unnecessary details, yet retains the full ability to interact with the game in the ways that truly matter. Virtual AI executes within a backend service and can thus easily be scaled and doesn't put any load on the servers. VNPCs can seamlessly transition back and forth from lightweight, back-end-driven AI entities to full-blown subsumption-driven NPCs, and are thus indistinguishable from an NPC that really did execute expensive subsumption logic all the time. Lastly, VNPCs gradually build up their own unique histories as they live out their lives. They evolve. Okay, so back to the example. Once the player gets close enough to Port...
Who knows? I guess... I can't say it's the first game that ever did it, but the first game I knew that did that was the Shadow of Mordor games, the Lord of the Ring games, where they had the Nemesis system, where the characters would always remember you and they'd come back and they'd want to fight you. That was always the idea I got from this. And I remembered when that game came out around that time, somebody used that as the example of this, and it rings true. It's like 6 years later, and it actually rings true. It's kind of surprising when that happens.
Olisar. That area is streamed into existence, loaded onto a server, and the NPCs initialized to resume whatever they should be doing at that time of day. Now I'm going to introduce a VMC pirate near the player, and they're going to immediately attack. After a few moments, the VMPC comes out ahead in this battle, and the player is killed.
Ooh.
Because their crime
Sounds
was
like me.
committed in range of an active comrade, it's recorded in their character history along with the time and location of the felony.
Ooh.
An upcoming tracking app will allow you to access information like this if you've registered with the local authorities, so that the digital footprints players and VMPCs leave behind can be tracked.
Nice face.
This VMPC's name is Dragon, and since they're now wanted in this jurisdiction, the comrade has affixed a real-time marker to his position. With the only
The
player in
old
this
bounty
area
wall
dead,
hack.
the server now streams Port Olisar and the comrade out, but as I previously noted, VMPCs aren't destroyed like a regular NPC created from a probability volume.
Okay, there he goes. He confirmed it again. VNPCs aren't destroyed like NPCs from probability volumes. So probability volumes are completely separate. That's a huge detail. I did not know that. I'm so glad I found that out before making that video next week.
Their logic isn't suspended like an NPC at a landing zone. Instead, VMPCs simply transition from their physicalized
That's the
state,
condition.
where authority over their actions is controlled by subsumption logic executing on a server, to their native ethereal state, where their virtual AI executes
But that's
on...
what I'm wondering. So it sounds like he already had the definition of the virtual AI for this person as opposed to the probability volume. What if the probability volume AI does kill you? Would it become a virtual AI, or would they still just ruin it at the end of its job being done?
on the back end. Dragon now begins to exit the area, and the comrade continues to track his position until he passes out of range, at which point the real-time information converts to a last known position report. He's decided that he needs money and he's a bit risk-averse, so he elects to head all the way out to Yellow, where there are quite a few transport freighters carrying valuable ore and little in the way of security. Okay, Dragon has arrived at Yellow's asteroid field and has now crossed back into range of another active comrade, so his real-time position is now once again being reported as indicated by both the character history and the tracking marker. There aren't any players...
These are details that we see coming up in Bounty Hunting V2, which is something that they've mentioned will come. Yes, I'm going to do this real quick. Give me one moment. This is something that I believe they said they're hoping will come in 4.0, right? They didn't say 3.18 for that. But if you look at the description for it, Bounty bounty hunting, not the Bounty hunting. Come on, you can spell tomato. You went to school. Enabling players to track criminals via MobiGlass security app linked to distress beacons, comm arrays, air traffic control systems, cameras, and NPC informants. This will rely on various new backend tech, including virtual AI, the NPC scheduler, and security service. So that's exactly what he's talking about here. This is Bounty Hunting V2. This is at least part of it.
In this area, and thus none of this is streamed onto a server. Everything you're seeing is a result of a variety of different services communicating with one another. VMPCs trigger probability volumes just like players, and Yellow shows that there's quite a bit of freighter traffic in this area. So Dragon won't have to wait very long before he generates an encounter. There's one. Dragon just caused the creation of a freighter, which itself becomes a VMPC so that it can react to what's happening via its own virtual AI. Dragon now engages the freighter. He starts firing on it. He's still within range of an active comrade, and thus this latest crime is added to his character history.
Nice.
He's now wanted for both murder and piracy, and the bounty on him just jumped from 6 to 10,000 UEC.
Ooh, that's
increasing
not
the
very
size
much
of their
for
rap
murder.
sheet and the price on their head is one of the simplest.
Wait, hold up. The bounty is 6,000 UEs for murder? Come on now, Tony. Whose life was that?
Forms of VMPC evolution, and over time we'll look to add additional ways for VMPCs to grow and increase their influence. From recruiting followers in an attempt to become a shipping magnate or a crime boss to offering their own missions.
Okay, I'm sorry. I keep pausing. That's another statement that I'm going to need to get knocked through my head at least 15 times before I believe it. That's nuts. Because that sounds like you're saying that any old NPC can go from being an NPC that's just being encountered and running into players to like a possible mission giver? I don't know. it's a little ambiguous the way he says it. It sounds like, yes, they'll have some form of interaction, but I don't know if they're going to have like full voice acting and like a better character model and all that stuff. Because listen to what he says
Become a
here.
shipping magnet or a crime boss, grow and increase forms of VNPC evolution. And over time, we'll look to add additional ways for VNPCs to grow and increase their influence. From recruiting followers in an attempt to become a shipping magnet or a crime boss to offering their own missions.
Do you imagine if an NPC just starts offering missions? Would they now have to work in some voice acting from that? Would they just pull from some random voice library? Would that character then have to find a location in the game to always stay to give missions, or would they just be sending them out via mobiGlass? It sounds like they can totally do stuff like this, but I'd love to hear more details as to how it will actually be carried out. They can simply attach missions to that NPC, right? And I want to know how deep they're going to go with that. Will it just be a mission on the mobiGlass that shows up like what we have now, or will they be fully interacting with us?
The captain of that freighter isn't going to surrender so easily. He's broadcast a combat assist service beacon that players can choose to accept, and he's offered a 3,000 UEC reward for his protection. Unfortunately for him, he's pretty heavily outmatched, and he's quickly destroyed, causing the service beacon to expire before anyone can come to his aid. Bits of information like this are fed back to Quantum, and in sufficient quantity will cause all sorts of things to change. How much security patrol missions in that area pay, what transports that have to travel through that area will demand as a risk premium, and how much a ship in distress will offer for someone to come to their aid.
Yeah, Jin, some Jin voice or some NFT voice acting.
Destruction has left some debris and possibly a few items of value, so if a player had already been en route, they might arrive to find the aftermath. Another murder has now been attributed to Dragon, and the bounty on him just once again jumped, this time from 10 to 14,000 UEC. He took a bit of damage from that encounter and is eventually going to need some repairs. A harder working pirate might look to plunder a few more freighters before heading back, but Dragon's personality attributes indicate that once he's got enough cash to cover the basics, he's more interested in drinking and gambling than piracy. So he leaves the area, and once again the real-time location tracking ceases once he's out of range of the comm array. He's heading back to Port Olisar, which is the closest location that has everything he wants. A fence to sell his stolen goods, shops to repair and restock his ship, and a bar where he can spend the remainder of his cash. The comm array near Port
Wait, hold up. He went out to that moon because he wanted money. Now he's going back to the space station. He's just going to spend that money at the bar? Did he really go and get into a space battle so he could get a freaking beer? Sounds like a pirate.
Olisar has been disabled, which means that Dragon's position isn't updated upon approach. The area remains devoid of any players, and thus it's still not streamed into memory. Dragon can therefore remain in his ethereal state and avoid a lot of computational expense related to maneuvering his ship.
Good for you,
but he
Dragon.
still needs to interface with the air traffic control service to request a landing pad and transition from his ship to the station. Services like this are always fully operational and accessible to VNPCs. That landing request is logged to his history, though, so while the disabled comm array would make it a bit harder for a bounty hunter to track him, there are lots of other ways by which locational information on a character can be obtained. Dragon needed to refuel and repair his ship, and you can see those actions reflected in his history as he interfaces with the shop service that controls those operations. When a VNPC transitions to a landing zone that's streamed in, the virtual AI service that drives their logic temporarily cedes control of the character to the NPC scheduler that specifies who resides at what location. This is the same foundation upon which the dynamic populations feature will be built, except that it will be Quantum instead of the virtual AI service dictating the changes in the population. The end result is that if a VNPC is assigned to a landing zone and you're at that location, you can run into them like any other NPC. Dragon is now hanging out in the local bar, which was added to Port Olisar for the purposes of this demo. If you were to walk into the bar at this moment, he'd be physicalized with the rest of the environment and you'd actually see him there. Dragon eventually gets his fill of entertainment, or maybe he just runs out of money. Either way, it's back to work, and he'll be jetting back to Yellow to try and prey on more unprotected cargo ships. So he contacts air traffic control to get clearance to leave the area and departs.
He just lands at
the same player
Port
that Dragon
Olisar.
first
That's a good point, Schlory. He shouldn't even be able to land there.
encountered and killed is looking to exact some revenge, though, and claim the big bounty on Dragon's head. They've surmised that there might be a pattern to Dragon's movement and think that he might head back out to Yella. So they position themselves between Port Olisar, where they know that Dragon just left, and Yella and activate a quantum interdiction field. Dragon, still in his lightweight ethereal form, initiates a quantum jump from Port Olisar to Yella and, just like a player, routes that movement through the probability volume service that is responsible for interdictions. Once he gets within range of the player's interdiction bubble, his jump is interrupted and he transitions from executing virtual AI on the back end to a full-blown subsumption-driven AI executing logic on a server so that the two of them can battle it out. If the player once again gets the worst of it, they might decide to change up their tactics a bit and wait to see if Dragon soon returns to Port Olisar, where they could try to sneak up on him on foot. The ultimate objective for Star Citizen has always been a dynamic and evolving universe. Historically, however, our mission content has always been static. We've had no ability to modify it after we pushed a version out the door. Missions have also been confined to a single server, each of which was thus its own little island, cut off and oblivious to whatever was happening elsewhere. Environmental data that applies to all of the servers, what items the shop offers for sale, how many freighters or pirates are in a given region of space, or what missions are available at a landing zone, couldn't be altered by the instance mission logic that executes on individual servers since we didn't yet have a means of coordinating those efforts. The end result has been a universe that often feels static and fails to offer sufficient variety. Dynamic events are a special type of mission intended to help remedy this problem. They are modular chunks of configurable content that might involve any...
Does anybody know if dynamic events are automatically triggering yet? I don't think they've gotten to that point. I think they gotten to a point where they can open a window where that event is active and then it gets triggered, but I don't know if they're always, I don't think they're always alive and able to get triggered, because they still tell us like, hey, this patch is when this event's going to happen. Yeah, not yet.
Anything from throwing a simple wrench into the wheels of the systemic economy, to a prison break that stresses the law system, to a full-blown invasion of a solar system. Dynamic events are global in nature. They affect the entire array of servers. They do this via extensions to the mission language that allow them to declare what logic runs in parallel on every server and what executes on the back end, while at the same time gaining the ability to query and modify a lot of global data. This allows us to keep the critical elements of these scenarios synchronized across all the servers while retaining the flexibility for every server to have its own unique state. Conceptually, the servers control the battle and the back end manages the war. The Xenothreat mission that we released in the first quarter was a dynamic event. It was triggered manually, although Quantum will eventually gain the ability to automatically activate these scenarios when conditions warrant. If, for example, the amount of piracy in an area gets out of control, Quantum might search through the mission library to find a dynamic event compatible with an elevated amount of piracy, and then customize and instantiate that scenario.
What I can't wait for is a dynamic event in some star system that basically says, hey, this planet has been completely cut off by a blockade. We need cargo pilots with escorts to fly down and get cargo and get it out of there. And then being able to see the community band around a convoy to make that happen. Oh, God. I'm sweating.
So that a lot of handcrafted content, unique character dialogue, challenges, rewards, can be blended into the universe simulation. We're aiming for the best of both worlds then, a systemic universe that provides a logically consistent background environment with the ability to overlay content and storylines that writers, designers, and many others have spent a lot of time creating. This is Quasar, a new tool that lets us manage dynamic events in the live game. It's linked to the same star map as Quantum and has access to much of the same information. I'm looking through the library of available events, and as I select each one, you can see the input parameters that can be used to customize that particular scenario. We've got quite a few of these at different stages of development, with Fleet Week, Ninetales, and Infiltrator being the next few in the pipeline. I'm going to walk you through a simple dynamic event called Quasar Demo that will show off a few of the systemic hooks we've linked into the mission system, but first I need to specify the inputs. The first thing that it requires is a location, and I'm going to select Port Olisar by simply clicking on the star map. The next couple of variables require a ship type. I'm going to specify Idris for the Defender input and Cutlass Black for attackers.
This part's pretty straightforward. They're just basically running through an event. I'm going to skip to where he shows us more of the probability volume stuff and the commodity stuff. This event is all about trying to export goods from a space station that's being blockaded, though, kind of like what I just said.
To customize aspects of the event after it's already been launched. The list of items that a shop offers to buy or sell has always been static. Phases, though, can include shop modifiers, which open the door to dynamically changing all sorts of shop-related information. To test this, I'm going to bring up a client window so that we can see what Port Olisar's admin office is currently buying. I've minimized the inventory for this test, so I'm only expecting to see a couple of items. That's the full list right there, just hydrogen and processed food.
Super
the
safe.
modify shop phase has been set up to activate when the backend variable called current phase has a value of 1, so I'm going to set it to that. The phase just turned green, meaning that it's enabled, and any changes to the backend data have now been applied. It applied a shop modifier to crank up the demand for food at Port Olisar, so let's see what's happening to the price. It was stable for a long time with just some minor fluctuations. Now, though, it's gone through the roof, the direct result of all that increased demand. So players and Quanta would be incentivized by higher prices to help correct this imbalance in the economy. This phase also had a shop modifier add a new item for purchase, and you can see that Quantum already knows about it. I'm going to flip back to the client, though, so that we can verify that this really did affect the inventory within the game. Sure enough, the shop is now looking to purchase a new item, medical supplies. Manual control over the economy like this is not intended to be a substitute for Quantum's systemically derived adjustments, but simply gives us the ability to occasionally nudge the system in a particular direction to add some interest or layer a compatible story onto the background environment or an existing trend. Quantum will then take these influences, factor them into the simulation, and output how everything changes in response so that all of the rough edges are smoothed. While we're looking at prices, I want to show off another new feature that will go out the door within the next few months. As designers gain the ability to write mission logic that can properly affect systemic change, temporary price imbalances will become more common, and we wanted to have a way for the system to actively reach out and inform you rather than relying upon you constantly having to check in on an area to discover that there's an opportunity.
I wonder, I always think about what it would be like if they somehow linked in the data running profession that players will be doing with keeping these sorts of pieces of data updated. Now, obviously, we live in the future. It's 900 years. This stuff should be constantly updated at the press of a button for anybody who wants it anywhere in the universe. But I think when it comes to gameplay, and especially when it comes to making sure that gameplay matters to everyone else, in the same way that you're going to have to ask a cargo hauler to bring your ship from one planet to another, I do kind of hope that there is some aspect of data runners having to be responsible for keeping these prices updated in some way. I don't know how, but somehow.
If we wait just a bit longer, the admin office is going to reach a point where it's so desperate for food that it's going to start reaching out, looking for ways to obtain more supply. It will do this by sending a message that will be recorded in a special area of your journal reserved for price alerts, which is basically a precursor to being able to create and post missions. You can see the message there indicating that the Port Olisar admin office needs food and what they're willing to pay for it. This feature gives designers the ability to dictate at a systemic level how shops will respond to inventory gluts and shortages, and this functionality will soon be extended to things other than commodities. An area suffering from too much piracy, for example, might offer to pay mercenaries to come to their aid. This is fundamentally different than the brute force tactics we currently rely upon to create missions and dictate when they're available, and is far more flexible and powerful. What you're really seeing here are the first signs of the dynamic mission system starting to flicker to life, and once it hits full stride, it's going to transform the gameplay experience. Next, let's take a look at how dynamic events allow encounter probabilities and interdiction frequencies to be adjusted. This is the probability volume around Port Olisar. You can see that piracy, the red curve, and security, the blue, are inversely related. All things being equal, if you increase the amount of security, you'll get less piracy, and vice versa. Security tends to congregate closer to the landing facilities and dissipate as you get farther out, and thus piracy tends to gradually increase with distance. The likelihood of an encounter is represented by the height of the curve at that distance. Notice that the chances of running into a freighter, the green curve, is pretty much constant because once a ship has decided to make the journey to or from Port Olisar, it's committed. They've already decided whether or not the risk is worth the reward of traveling the full route. I'm now going to activate the lockdown phase of this event, which is going to crank up the amount of piracy in the selected area and overwhelm security. The red curve, piracy, now has a much larger average height, equating to an increased encounter probability, and because pirates now greatly outnumber security, the curve pushes in much closer to the landing zone. The criminals are emboldened because there's no longer sufficient security to deter them. The blue curve, security, looks identical, although Quantum will, over time...
This is what we were talking about earlier with the percentages of the different things that you might run into. I didn't even notice, though, that they measure the percentages as a function of time. So this resets every time, every minute. 30% chance, and then another minute goes by, you have another 30% chance. Which is cool. That makes sense. Because, like, you know, time's a thing.
time, start adjusting the economic levers to gradually increase the amount of security to combat the threat by offering greater rewards. Increased piracy has had an immediate impact, though, on freighter traffic, which has dropped precipitously. This means that the local economy will start to seize up. They won't be able to import food, medicine, fuel, or whatever else they need, and they won't be able to export whatever goods and services they produce. All of these knock-on effects are only possible because
jump gates are infrastructure that they put around some jump points. They're not universal. In fact, they kind of shied away from the idea of jump gates just because people started to think that the jump gates caused the jump points. But originally in lore, jump gates were meant to help stabilize unstable jump points and were used around more major jump points because they needed the infrastructure to back it up. But it seems like they might move away from it, at least for the most part. There maybe, you know, Terra might have a jump gate around its point or something like that, but kind of moved away. Data running is going to be the act of running data. We don't know anything really about it yet, unfortunately. You'll have to find the data, steal it, store it, and transport it, but we don't know the details of that. I'm actually working on a video for this right now, Django. Check it out next week.
Designers will now be able to nudge the economic gears in proper systemic fashion. Let's test one of these knock-on effects. Now that we've adjusted the encounter probabilities, let's see what that does to quantum travel in the area. I'm going to once again bring up a game client, this time so that we can watch an Avenger Titan jumping to Port Olisar. This is a short jump, and the chances of interdiction would typically be very slim. Now that we've injected a much larger pirate presence around that location, however, that's no longer the case. We got ejected from our jump as soon as we got within range of those elevated pirate probabilities, which means that getting to Port Olisar just got a lot more difficult and time-consuming, and will remain that way until the threat is addressed. We're now to the point where we can allow programmatic modification of these data structures, and Quantum will soon start adjusting these automatically so that all sorts of things within the universe start to ebb and flow. What all of this really means is that even when you know that you can buy medical supplies dirt cheap at one location and sell them for a hefty profit at another, we can finally start to adjust some of the systemic elements to justify the disparity. In short, if you wanted to take advantage of Port Olisar's elevated prices right now, you'd have to fly the last mile at conventional speeds, and we'll probably see quite a bit of combat. That's going to drive up how long it takes you to make the run. You're probably going to burn quite a bit more ammo and require more repairs than would otherwise be the case, and you might want to think about recruiting some armed escorts to help you through the dangerous areas. Once the risk abates, once players in Quanta have dispatched enough of the pirates so that travel within this area returns to normal, you'll be able to much more easily deliver medical supplies to Port Olisar, but of course that increase in supply will quickly shrink the price differential. Now let's take a look at how each server can host part of a larger event while the things that really matter can remain synchronized. I'm going to enable the war phase by calling the start war function. That's going to create some staged battles involving the ship types we selected earlier around Port Olisar.
So this is interesting. Somebody might be able to explain this to me because it's late. My brain is only half working right now. But this part is where they show that the things that happen in a server will be translated across all servers in the same way that trade works. So that if we're having dynamic events in Star Citizen right now, when there are 30 servers running, no matter what happens in each server, they'll all go into the same counter, and the event will progress the same for everyone. But that shouldn't be a thing when we have shards, right? Because everybody in the physical space would technically be in the physical space, unless we're talking about the difference between a regional shard. For instance, the North American shard versus the European shard. Everybody might all be in the same space because they're all sharing servers, but the information is thrown to other shards to keep them synchronized. I think I just answered my own question. Thanks, everybody.
Previously selected. I brought up a couple of different client windows, each of which represents a different server. As each cutlass is destroyed on either server, the shared variable called enemies remaining is decremented. Once that variable reaches 0, the war phase will automatically terminate and the victory phase will be activated. That's it. The counter just hit 0 and you can see the change in the active phases over in Quasar. That last phase, Victory, kicked off some fireworks around Port Olisar, and just like any other phase change, that will automatically be synchronized across all of the servers. Just to make sure that things are back to normal, I'm going to check Port Olisar's admin office and see what's happening with the inventory and prices.
Star Citizen.
They're no longer looking to purchase medical supplies, and with the pirate threat eliminated, players in Quanta can once again quickly and safely reach Port Olisar. As a result, the cost of food has started to fall off a cliff and will soon return to something close to its pre-crisis levels.
Pre-COVID prices.
I've covered a lot of ground today. Quantum has matured considerably since you last saw it. The performance issues have been resolved, it's been made compatible with our back-end infrastructure, and it's now communicating with numerous gameplay services. Lots of new analytical tools and functionality have been added, and increased fidelity in areas like quanta attributes and the spatial positioning of resources have allowed us to improve the accuracy of its output. We're now in early stage testing to allow Quantum to start pushing the first few bits of simulated data out the door and start impacting the game, and we expect to go live with these efforts later this year.
Oh, that didn't happen.
The first stones in the Virtual AI Foundation were laid long ago, but it's only been within the past couple of months, as engineering resources rolled off of some other major initiatives, that the implementation effort has really started to take off. This technology will allow VMPCs the freedom to operate and evolve independently of player actions and open up all sorts of new gameplay possibilities. Bounty Hunter V2 will be the first feature to exploit virtual AI, but it's really just the tip of the iceberg insofar as what we eventually plan to do with it.
Pretty cool
Some of the
piece of
virtual AI
information
tech
there.
foundation will beget other important features, like the ability to dynamically adjust the size and composition of the populations at landing zones. Dynamic events are the culmination of several major technological components coming together, from the Dynamic Mission Service to Quasar, and are already a reality. We shipped the first one, Xenothreat, in the first quarter and have a number of others at various stages of development for release later this year and next. Many of these initial releases will serve as testing boards for new features, from shop and probability volume modifiers to spawn closets and the dynamic generation of nav meshes.
Hey,
Dynamic events give us the ability to modify the universe.
That's also like, you guys know how they always talk about blockers and prerequisites and stuff? That's a pretty good example of it there too. Like, there's a lot of the stuff that we hear about constantly that are being intertwined here. The navigation meshes, the quantum system, the spawn closets. They all come at different times, but they're all pretty closely connected. Yeah, Bounty Hunter V2 is going to be the first thing that uses the quantum system. That's what we were looking at it here. It was actually the example that they used when he was going over all this stuff. All the virtual AI tracking and whatnot. This was all kind of, I think,
the server now streams Port Olisar,
playing on the bounty hunting V2 stuff, because they was talking about how air traffic control and comm arrays and stuff are going to keep you tracked, and yeah, that'll probably be the first implementation of it. So whenever we see that, that's when Quantum, I think, really will start to have an effect in the game.
Later this year and next. Many of these initial releases will serve as testing boards for new features, from shop and probability volume modifiers to spawn closets and the dynamic generation of nav meshes. Dynamic events give us the ability to modify the universe in dramatic or subtle fashion whenever we want,
There will
and to
always be
seamlessly
updates,
blend
Triz.
those changes into the quantum simulation so that everything looks and feels natural. All of this will ultimately mean a more interesting, realistic, and exciting universe for you to explore and experience. I hope that this presentation has given you a good sense of what we've been doing over the past year and what those efforts will mean for the game in the coming one. Until next time.
He just I love the awkward peace
Until
sign.
next time.
Oh, Tony. Such a Tony. Well, anyways, folks, I think that wraps up our review session for today. I'm glad that we got to figure something out to do. I'm sorry that there was no camera today, and I'm sorry there was no gameplay. We're very much in between places right now. We're trying to move into the new house. We're getting electricity and water turned on. The internet should be there by this weekend. We got to do some painting, and we're getting some furniture and things, but the move-in process has been slow, and a lot's going on because we just came all the way over here to Turkey. So we're getting things figured out, and hopefully by the end of the week I will have a much more stable stream that I can get back into game, and hopefully Twitch will allow me to stream back to Twitch again, because that's really hurting us not being able to go live on Twitch. But I appreciate everybody being here. I hope you got to learn something today. We went over a lot of stuff, went over some of the community's content, went over some of CIG's content, learned some stuff, talked about some stuff, all that jazz, and overall I had a good time. This is great. It's a good reminder of what SC is. Yeah, I like doing these sorts of reviews. These are cool. Time for your Scorpius vid to motivate me. I'll check that out, man. There's a nice tomato in the right lower corner. Yeah, you got the patriotic tomato over there giving the salute. So luckily, there's at least some red energy on the screen. Good luck with all the new housework. Thank you. I'll definitely have some pictures. I'll put pictures and videos up of it as we do work on it probably on Twitter. If you're following, or if you're not following on Twitter and you have one, consider checking it out. I do put other stuff on there like infographics and little bits and pieces of info that I find. But I'll also be announcing that kind of stuff over on Discord. So if you want to be a closer part of the community and you want to get more involved with everything that we're doing, including the org, just getting into playing other games like Satisfactory or Deep Rock Galactic and other stuff like that, you can join us on Discord as well. We have a pretty good time there. How late is it for me right now? It is 9:30 at night. Not terrible, but we're getting close to my bedtime. We're getting there. You'll stay tuned. Peace out, all. Good stream. Mr. Soul, thank you for being here. It's lovely seeing you. X Chris 07's buddy, good to see you. Jack Stevens, peace out. Happy Juneteenth. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all. Y'all are awesome. I hope you had a wonderful day today, and I hope you have a great week ahead of you. Some peace, some joy, a little bit of danger, you know? A tad bit of risk. Something to keep you excited throughout the week. Keep an eye out for the new video coming out this week. I'm doing something on the new derelict locations coming out and what I consider to be the best new feature in Alpha 3.17 too. But you'll have to wait to find out what that is. Most of you probably already know, but anyways, next week is the economy. Again, I'll be covering the Star Citizen economy and quantum system, both in depth for supporters. Become a YouTube channel member if you'd like to get that video, as well as the 7 other exclusive videos from this year, and also a shorter public video for everybody else, because we all need to learn more about quantum. Anyways, once again, thank you all so much for being here, and I will see you on Wednesday.